The flame-grilled Whopper from Burger King. The most food-filling burger.
Is it, though?
Is that?
Yes. A slightly better version of you.
I don't understand.
Just like the new Whopper that's juicier and tastier than ever before. Same, but hits different. That's my line now.
Oh, sorry.
Whopper never tasted so good. Order now on the Burger King app.
This is the Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Order the ultimate food satisfaction with the flame grilled bacon double cheeseburger XL. Order your Burger King delivery now.
Let's go!
European performances and results in the midweek. It's Old Firm time on Sunday. The transfer window is coming to an end. Lots happening, lots to tell you about in the course of the next couple of hours. And we had the draw for the Europa League league phase today, so we'll fill you in on all the details of that, plus a full Premiership programme over the weekend, matches down the divisions in the SPFL as well. Is that enough, Mark, do you reckon, on the agenda for today?
Yeah, a lot going on, obviously. 2 sleeps to go. Rangers v Celtic at Ibrox, first Old Firm game of the season. Both of them going into the game, Rob, with horrific European results and performances in midweek. Rangers also getting in domestically on the back foot, Celtic on the front foot in terms of their own domestic form. And then you've got the disappointment as well. Hibs and Aberdeen both getting knocked out of the respective competitions, albeit Aberdeen dropping into the Conference League. So it's not been a great week for our teams. Unfortunately, we're kind of used to it, which is a sad indictment in the Scottish game.
Mark Guidi, Rob Maclean and Barry Ferguson is here as well. Sunday is difficult to call, Barry, at the best of times, especially off the back of Tuesday and Wednesday nights.
Yes, it is, as Mark said there, Rob. 2 really disappointing performances and results. It's one that Rangers have to win. I would begin in with the mindset as it cannot go to 9 points. You certainly don't want it to keep it at 6. It has to go down to 3. And Rangers really need to make sure that they take the game to Celtic, Rob, because, as I mentioned, you can't go 9 points behind. That would be unacceptable.
So lots to talk about on the show. We're going to hear from Brendan Rodgers in the next couple of hours. Going to hear from Russell Martin as well, and Arne Engels talking about himself, his struggle to get into the Celtic starting 11, and also he'll be talking about Mikael Ange Balikwisha, the new Celtic signing that just was announced a couple of hours after the show finished last night. So Celtic are doing business, Mark. Just to add to the agony of not getting it done before those 2 games, we're going to hear from Brendan Rodgers in the course of the show. I've had a listen to it in advance. I don't know if you heard his press conference today, insisting there is no disconnect between him and the board, but not really coming up with a great answer about why this business wasn't done before these 2 games against Kairat Almaty, because this is a recurring theme. This has been going on at Celtic for years.
Yeah, well, he perhaps he doesn't have the answer because it's not in his remit to go negotiate deals. All he and Paul Tisdale can do are give names to the hierarchy to go and get deals over the line. And then Balikwisha, that he's been on the radar for, I don't know, certainly since the January window, maybe even last summer, I can't remember, but I don't know. Somebody said he changed agents and that made the deal a bit protracted. It should have been done, Rob. It's come back to bite Celtic in terms of midweek. Yeah, of course you can say that Celtic should have been good enough anyway to see past Kairat. I totally get that argument, but let's just say it wasn't Kairat that they had. Let's say they did get a tough one. They should have been better prepared, and I think the hierarchy haven't delivered in terms. I think they have let the manager down and they have let the supporters down. And you speak to any Celtic supporter, most of them, Rob, they've had enough. That's 5 Champions League knockout games in a row Celtic have been knocked out.
Yeah.
5 in a row. So unless they were getting guaranteed entry, which basically the last 2 years, they were getting knocked out. And one of the online bloggers put it's a recurring theme of how they go about their business at this stage of the season with various managers. It's not just exclusive to Brendan Rodgers. With various managers, I can't quite get my head round it, because if you can do business now with 2 or 3 days to go, why was your business not done 5 or 6 weeks ago? The market's difficult. Well, but convenient excuses for me. Convenient to hide behind that. I think Celtic have let down the manager, let down the playing squad. The captain's been asking for reinforcements, and they've let down their supporters.
It's a head scratcher, Barry, isn't it? We'll get to Rangers, we'll get to their performance Wednesday night and how that kicks on into Sunday. But Celtic, even if Balikwisha had been signed, maybe it was just that little bit of freshness they needed. That means it's a different player, a fresh player, a quality player as well, but also the impact that a new player has on those who are already there.
Yeah, and it charges up the dressing room as well when you see 2 or 3 big signings coming in. It makes you stand up and take notice. But see, when the January window closes and you know Brendan Rodgers is going to be the manager the following season, I would suspect that he had targets, and you would want to get as many of the targets in as early as possible. And it's very strange that Celtic seem to wait until the very last kick of the ball in the transfer window. You're never going to get all your signings in through the door for the first day of pre-season, but you want to get the vast majority of them. 1 or 2 might drag on because it might come down to agents or transfer fees, but yeah, it's a recurring theme at Celtic. It seems to wait to the very last minute of the transfer window to do business, and that's the thing that will frustrate the Celtic supporters. And also you can see it certainly frustrates Brendan Rodgers.
The other thing as well, what you don't get now, Rob, from Celtic, apart from the manager doing his pressers and a couple of players saying this and that, and the players are always guarded as to what was fine. They should have been able to be a spokesman for the club. But you get nothing now from Celtic out with the manager. There's no line of communication. So for example, Balikwisha, why did it take this long when he's been on your radar for at least 8 months, if not longer? Now, if you give a reason, well, do you know what, it took so long because of A, B and C. Why did you not get the guy from Go Ahead Eagles? Why are you still incrementing your transfer bids for the boy from Hammarby by 100 grand at a time? You know, okay, so why? Give an explanation. Now the fans might not agree. They might still be frustrated, but at least you're doing them the service as a paying customer, as supporters who put tens and tens of millions of pounds into the club every year. You're giving them an explanation, which they are due. They're absolutely due. Now, like I say, they might not agree. They might say, well, I'm not buying that. Okay, fine. But at least you're giving them something back as a supporter of your football club.
When did somebody above Brendan Rodgers or above any manager at Celtic last speak?
Well, sometimes you'll get a snippet from Dermot Desmond at St Andrews when he's over for the Pro-Am. Was it every October?
Yeah, but actually, you know.
Well, I think apart from the AGM, I don't think you get anything. I don't think, and even the AGM's fairly well managed in terms of, you know, what's allowed to come from the floor or whatever when you read the pressers after it. So Brendan Rodgers can say there's no disconnect between the board and him. That may well be true. I'm not really quite buying it, to be perfectly honest. But what there is for me, a clear disconnect, which is every bit as important and serious. There's a disconnect now between a huge number of the Celtic fans and the Celtic hierarchy, and that needs to be addressed.
That's a good point you make. I think you're better being straight and honest and making them understand, as you mentioned, the paying public, the reasons why these deals take so long, because there might be instances where clubs might not want to sell their best player because obviously they're looking to bring in a replacement. But I think sometimes you're better being honest and saying this is the reason why we've not brought players in and we need to try and change it. And
in a sense, Brendan Rodgers is hung out to dry, isn't he? Because he's getting asked constantly these questions that he actually is not qualified to answer because there are reasons above him.
You can see he's frustrated. There's no doubt. I'm sure he would have wanted another 2 or 3 players in before that Champions League qualifier. There's no doubt they've let, for instance, Kuhn, who, let's be honest, this first 6 months of the season last year was up there for player of the year. I know he faded away, but he was still a big player for Celtic, and there wasn't a direct replacement brought in for him. So that's why fans get frustrated. They like to know, they like you to be honest, and I think that's the best policy going forward, is being honest.
Lots to talk about on the show. 0808 17 17 700 if you want to get involved in one of the many grisly topics that we'll be getting through in the next couple of hours. Barry, Wednesday night.
I thought you weren't going to ask me. I thought I was getting away with it.
Really? 12 minutes in. You've done well so far to get 12 minutes in.
35 minutes to go.
Exactly. So you've got up till 7 o'clock for your answer. What did you think? How did you feel as you were watching Club Brugge against Rangers?
I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be a hard task because we've seen how good Brugge were, not just at Ibrox, but obviously we've seen them last year when they came to Glasgow and played Celtic. I thought it was going to be a big ask for the team, but what you want is you want to go over there, and if you are going to maybe come away with a draw or a defeat, you want to make it as hard as possible for Brugge. And the main aim is when you play away from home in Europe is to make sure you go in and you're really compact. You make it very difficult for the opponent. Don't give them any energy, and you don't give the fans in the stadium any energy. Rangers give the goal away again. What was it, 5 or 6 minutes into it? It charges them up. Then obviously Rangers get Aaron sent off. I don't know what he was doing. It was a really poor decision, but it was a sore one to watch, Rob, in the first half. It was just waves of attack. The goals, even down to 10 men, Rangers gave away were far too easy. He changed it in the second half to sit really deep, and that's what I thought you had to do once you obviously get Aaron sent off. But yeah, it was a sore one to watch. Now that's in the past. They need to try and regroup, Rob, and make sure they give a better account of themselves in Sunday. But
it was 6-0 just a few minutes into the second half. Were you sitting wondering what the scoreline was going to become?
Yeah, I was sitting behind the sofa, if I'm being brutally honest. But then they started just to play about. They were flicking around about the 18-yard box. And
it was like an exhibition match, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm glad they done that. I think if they really wanted it, they could have scored another few goals. Listen, Jack Butland made a few terrific saves. They missed a few chances. But yeah, it was a difficult watch. It was it was sore, and I was just glad when the final whistle went, if I'm being brutally honest.
Mark, where does it leave Russell Martin were Rangers to lose on Sunday?
Hey, I think, Rob, and I'm reluctant to say this, I think already he's a dead man walking. I can't see it working out for him. He's only, well, you know, I was about to say that his only chance is if he beats Celtic on Sunday, and that gets him back into the title race, which ultimately that's what your season is all about. It's your bread and butter and becoming champions. That's what his remit is. They certainly could beat Celtic on Sunday. I would make, you take the midweek out of the equation. Celtic domestically are absolutely fine. They've been solid. They've not conceded a goal in the league, and they're scoring a few goals, so they look fine. Going to Ibrox is your toughest fixture of the season. But Rangers are in no great shape at all. They're very fragile. It could be the case that the 45,000 Rangers fans become a hindrance inside the stadium because they are ready to turn in Russell Martin a second's notice. I understand the fans' frustration in terms of the official Rangers supporters association that have put out the statement telling the club that they want the manager removed, that they don't support him. Okay, I get the frustration, but I don't think it's the right time to go about that. I think it's far too early. Okay, so what we don't know, we know with previous regimes they'll capitulate to the fans, because you look at the amount of managers they've sacked in round about a year's time. Yeah. The new owners, you look at their history at Leeds United, they allowed Daniel Farker a couple of storms, a few bumps in the road, and they stood with him. However, the Leeds United fans weren't as vociferous as the Rangers fans are just now in terms of we want this guy out the door. I believe the owners will be at Ibrox on Sunday, so they're going to see it first hand for themselves. If it goes wrong, if it goes pear-shaped on Sunday, they'll certainly know all about it. So all we know, all we can see, Rob, is the work that goes on a Saturday afternoon. We see that 90 minutes and we make a judgment. And ultimately a manager's job is about getting results on a Saturday afternoon. What we don't see is the body of work behind the scenes and Russell Martin get under the bonnet. Now Barry was under the bonnet for 4 months as manager, so he'd have known things that would needed to be fixed if he kept the job. So it could well be that the hierarchy that run Rangers think, well, okay, on a Saturday it's no great, but we know what he's having to deal with and we know what he's putting right behind the scenes in order to get to the point where it becomes more seamless on a Saturday. We don't know all of that, but and they might just say, we're no bound to the Rangers fans, we're going to stick with this guy. So we don't know, it's still a wee bit unknown, but as we all know, we're all experiencing this game. We've seen managers come and go at many different clubs. I struggle to see Russell Martin getting through this and getting by. I really do struggle to see him finding a way through it.
It's got worse, Barry, hasn't it?
It has. Listen, with the result obviously on Wednesday was tough, but the domestic start to the season is actually, when you look at the first 4 games, you're looking at it and think that's pretty decent. And I'm not being disrespectful to Motherwell, Dundee, and I know St Mirren's a very tough place to go, but you're looking at that and thinking 9 points, if not 7. 7
That's
points.
the start you'd want those sort of games to start the league with.
And then you go in with a pretty decent start domestically. I'm saying 7 points here, but you're at Rangers, you've got to remember that you've got to get 9 points, but I know how difficult it is at a place like St Mirren. But anyway, if you're saying 7 points, you're thinking, right, it's still a pretty decent start to the season. And then what's the 4th game? You've got your fiercest rivals coming to your home patch, and then if you can get that victory where you're expecting Celtic to win 3 out of 3, you can get that victory, and then after 4 games you're sitting pretty at the top of the league. But it's not been the case, and the performances have been disappointing, the results have been disappointing, and Sunday's going to be one of the ones where you're speaking about the fans. Look, the fans are vocal, they've got every right to be vocal, they're unhappy, and the only way you can change that, Rob, is doing one thing, and that's winning games. And there's no better game to win. But what you need to do is you need to start really, really fast. You need to get the fans right behind you. You need to be so aggressive in your approach to this game and Sunday. And if you start like that, the supporters in the stand will get right behind you, and then you never know what could happen.
Here's Russell Martin speaking today at the media conference on that very subject of getting the fans back on side.
I think the only way you get fans back on side is by winning football matches. As simple as that. And there's no better game to win than this game on Sunday. How much it means to everyone, one of the biggest games in the world. I mean that in terms of interest and how much it means to the people involved. And that's the brilliant thing about football. After a disappointment in midweek, you have an opportunity to put things right and prove ourselves right. The players prove themselves right. They're good players. To prove the work that we're doing right. It's not about proving people wrong. We're not working against our fans. I'm not working against our supporters. It's about making sure we do ourselves justice and the players show their worth, the shirt. They really want to be here. They have the desire to win. So it's all about Sunday now, and that's the brilliant thing about football. You have an opportunity to put things right and to make things feel very different again.
Does he need to modify the way he plays, Barry? Does he need to be more open-minded about changing things?
Listen, Russell's got a way of playing, a philosophy that he believes in. I don't think he is going to change. That's the way that he plays. That's the way that he done it at MK Dons. That's the way he done it at Swansea. That's the way he done it at Southampton. That's the way that he believes in the way that football should be played. That was probably the reason.
But it's not working.
No, it's not. And I'm a big believer in that you have to be flexible. You have to be. But Russell's looks to me if he's adamant that he wants to play a certain way, and I don't think you'll see that change, because as I mentioned, if you look at his 3 previous clubs, that's the way he approached it. Even when he went into the Premier League with Southampton, his teams were very open, and this is the way that Rangers play. They want to dominate possession and play very high up the pitch. So I don't see Russell changing that. And again, when you're a manager, you have a certain way of playing. I'm not going to say it's the right way or the wrong way. I had a certain way I wanted to play, but also I had to understand that you had to change at times with the teams that you come up against.
Yeah. Forgive me if you've mentioned this already in your earlier answer, but when Rangers went one down in Bruges and had Aarons sent off, should he have gone to a back five, even a back six, whatever, to damage limit at that stage?
Personally, I would have went to two banks of four, with a striker just filling in, helping the midfield out. Keep it very compact and only let them down the sides. And then see if they get down the sides, see when that ball comes in, make sure you defend it. So I just thought in the first half, Rangers were a bit open and it just played into Bruges' hands, because let's be honest, Rob, they had some really tidy football players. They had pace, clever footballers as well. So sometimes I think, just let the footballers play in front of you. Just let them have the ball. Play in front of us. If they get through us, which they will, once or twice, and that's me saying if you're playing that very deep, compact way, then you're hoping that your goalkeeper will pull off a save. But I just thought we gave up far too many chances, and it played into Bruges' hands. The second half, he went a 5-4 with nobody up top, and that's when you seen that Bruges just played in front, and then it became like an exhibition game. Yeah, that's generally what I would have done, or I think a lot of managers would have done if they went down to obviously 10 men and 1-0 down. You don't want to make it into just an easy contest or a nothing contest. You want at least to get out there with a kind of respectable result. But the difference you've seen for the first half to the second half was they never really cut Rangers open in the second half. It was more long range, apart from the goal they scored.
But the horse had bolted by then.
It certainly did, and it was just a case of just seeing the game out and just get that whistle and get your gear on and get out of there, because it was a tough one on Wednesday night.
It was horrible. We're going to go to the phone lines after the break. We've got Stevie from Craigend standing by to join us in the conversation. You can get involved as well. 0808 17 17 700. We're talking football till 7.
This is the Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Every home is now the home of the Whopper with Burger King delivery. Let's go!
The Go Radio Football Show. Rob Maclean here today, and for Paul Cooney, we've got Barry Ferguson, we've got Mark Guidi, and we've got your calls as well. And we've heard already from Russell Martin. I'm going to hear from Brendan Rodgers, Arne Engels as well, talking about Balikwisha, the new Celtic signing. More business to be done in the next few days by both Celtic and Rangers, you would imagine. Outs as well as ins. Draw made today for the Europa League phase. Celtic will play Roma at home, Feyenoord away, Braga at home, Red Star Belgrade away, Sturm Graz at Celtic Park, Midtjylland in Denmark, then it's Utrecht at home and Bologna. Nephew Lewis involved, Barry, in that one.
I know. Do you know what? I might go over to that one.
I think you should. Aye.
With a bit of security. Rangers, meantime, well, they play Roma as well. Roma at Ibrox, Porto away, Braga home, Ferencvaros away, Ludogorets at home, Sturm Graz away, Genk at home, and the Norwegian team Brann away. Those are the fixtures coming up for both Celtic and Rangers, having failed to make it to the Champions League, but some pretty tasty games coming up in terms of that Europa League competition. Let's go to the phone lines. We have got Stevie from Craigend joining us. Stevie's a Celtic fan. Hi, Stevie.
How are you doing, guys? All right?
Yep, all good. What would you like to talk about?
Just a wee couple of things. Just firstly, Rob, if MD's not doing it in the morning, I've got a cracking game at Shettleston Juniors with Glasgow United playing Ferrari, a wee bit of a derby there.
Okay.
So 2 o'clock kick-off, if MD's free, get along, it's going to be a belter.
Yep.
My point, obviously, let me know again, is just you've got two wounded animals now going against each other on Sunday. And obviously, I watched the Celtic game, and I've been on before saying that I'm a big Rangers fan in Europe. You know what I mean? But I just felt that Sunday, I think the two of them, obviously the fans that travelled away to watch Celtic, the fans that travelled away to watch Rangers, were sort of owed a show. And I didn't know what Barry and Mark thought, that on Sunday, you know what I mean, it might take the limelight off Russell Martin, like it did Barry when Barry got a couple of results against Celtic, you know what I mean, last season. And if he gets a result this season, then do you think it would help him build a bit of credibility, Barry, and win the fans here, or do you think they're still unforgiving?
Well, Stevie, I would definitely think it would help. Obviously, getting a good result against Celtic. Look, the Rangers fans have made it known that they're unhappy, but the only way you can change it, I mentioned that 5 minutes ago on the show, is starting to win football games, and it must start on Sunday. But I agree with you, it's two wounded animals, two disappointing results in Europe, and it'll be interesting to see how both approach it. I think Rangers have to come out the traps. I also think Celtic will come and have a pop at Rangers. So I think there's going to be goals in it. I think it'll be end-to-end stuff. But the main objective is for Russell Martin to make sure it doesn't go to 9 points. It can't go to 9 points at this stage. And I know it's only 4 games in, but it can't allow, even at 6 points, he's got to get down to get them back to 3 points. But I think it's going to be a very open. I don't think it'll be a cagey affair. I really don't. Because I know how important it is for Rangers to get the first one of the season. And then I think Celtic will come and fancy their chances, because Rangers have been certainly vulnerable at the back.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how big a worry for Rangers is that defensive vulnerability? I mean, Celtic are lacking a cutting edge at the moment, but they under normal circumstances, they'd be licking their lips at the prospect of facing up to Rangers at the moment.
It has been a bit of Achilles heel for Rangers this season. The amount of chances that they've gave up, they've been pretty wide open. That's certainly something I would think Russell Martin and the coaching staff will be working on, making sure that when you're attacking, the main thing is for me, when I was working with the group, is see when you attack, it's the setup behind the attack has got to be spot on. Certainly when you come up against good players, because if it's not set up properly, good players are going to do one thing and they're going to hurt you. So if Rangers are going to attack, they need to make sure defensively behind that attack they are rock solid.
Stevie, what did you think of the Celtic performance Tuesday night?
I was watching it, and I mean, we should have took care of them, but you can't take anything away from that team, Rob. I mean, no, they didn't have a couple of their good players who obviously were missing for the first game.
Yep.
But again, you're never going to win games not being on chances. We should have took care of them. To me, everybody shouts sack the board and do this and do that. I mean, I'm a Spurs fan, so Spurs will look at that draw there and then they'll decide who they're going to buy. And I don't know if Barry'd agree, I think Celtic were going to do the same. Get through, get into the group, the league thing, and then see, right, who can we get, because we've got A, B and C and we've got X, Y and Z away. I mean, so we're going to need better players than what we've got. I mean, to add to that squad, to get us, because they done brilliant last year, but to me, I just think the standings mean nothing. I mean, we finished better than Real Madrid, but it meant nothing when it came to the draw.
But I mean, that policy of holding off until after the games, I mean, it's backfired horribly for Celtic. And Mark was speaking earlier, and I just want to listen briefly to Brendan Rodgers here from his media conference today. Any suggestion that there's a disconnect between him and the layers of management above, well, he's blown that away today. Let's have a quick listen.
I'd be very hopeful. We've got a major owner in Dermot who's super intelligent guy. We've got a board of directors who bleed for the club. They want the club to do well. So everyone here's connected. It's not, I see and I hear all the stories of disconnection, and this can't be further from the truth. Every single guy, from me, the board, Dermot, we love Celtic, but we want Celtic to be the very, very best. There's a business model that you see it works so well. I want to try and ensure the football model works equally as well. So it's fluent and agile, and we keep ahead of the game. So when we lose players, we're not in this cycle of waiting, standing still, and then missing out on competitions that we want to be in. So that's the idea. Hopefully over the coming months.
Stevie, he says there's no disconnect, but and Mark's alluded to this, and Mark's gone into detail about it earlier on in the show about the number of times, no matter who the Celtic manager is, there's been this delaying tactic, and it's cost them. So, and what's being said today is, well, we're going to look at this, we're going to sort this can't happen again. But surely Celtic have been saying that, and the fans have been frustrated accordingly for years and years now.
Well, the fans agreed. Actions speak louder than words, guys. You know what I mean? So if you don't want it to happen, then obviously make sure that you we've done it under Ange. We get the guys identified, signed, and playing and getting ready. And we had a right pop at Real Madrid at Parkhead. So not many teams will do that. But again, they've been cagey and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But we've been used to it for years, guys. You know what I mean?
It doesn't make it right, Stevie. That doesn't make it right. The only window that Celtic have actually acted quickly was Ange's 1st January window. When you go back to when Ange joined in the summer that he saw, there was a delay as well. And it's not just about delay getting players in, it's actually selling players too. Now, for example, let's deal with the here and now. Balikwisha's signed, okay. So sometimes I was thinking, okay, is the delay because Celtic have got a qualifier? 1 or 2 players will only come to them if they're a Champions League club, which could be the case. So you've got to allow for that. But clearly that's not been the case with Balikwisha, because he's joining them as a Europa League club. So why was it not done? He's not all of a sudden just come on their radar in the past 48 hours. He's been on their radar for months, if not a year. So that doesn't add up for me. That's where you've got to be better. Now, it could well be, Rob, that what Celtic have got to do moving forward as a football club, whether Brendan's a manager or whoever, maybe they need to, maybe the job of being chief executive is too big to encompass everything under the one umbrella as a chief executive. And when I'm saying this, I'm not having a go at Michael Nicholson. I'm just saying maybe
need somebody else.
Maybe need a skilled negotiator that just deals with transfers, that just deals with agents, that deals with clubs. They go, and he's got that authority to go and do it. And Michael Nicholson, the chief executive, all the other aspects that go on at a massive football club, the day-to-day running, maybe that. And some people say, why do you need that? He's only working 2 months a year, Jack. Well, you're not. But I will tell you, you're working constantly, or you should be working constantly all year round. So that when you sell Kyogo at the end of the January window, you've got a replacement in for the first day of pre-season. And buy. Or this time last year when Celtic knew they were in the Champions League, it took them to the last 3 days to get their 3 big signings in the door. Now, people have had a go at Brendan Rodgers because Ida cost 9, Engels 11 and Trusty, so that 26 million quid, all you're doing was recycling the Matt O'Reilly money. It's not Brendan Rodgers' fault that they're waiting, because if they go to him and say, well, we'll get A, B and C in, right, go and get them at whatever it costs, because I ain't taking the second option centre forward, the second option midfield. So there's all that into the mix. So I don't know, maybe there's a restructure required at the whole football club. I think there's also a freshness required at the hierarchy as well. We'll just freshen things up, challenge each other.
Here's a question.
Can we be better?
Here's a question, Mark. Might the board have looked at those 3 players you're talking about and the £26 million that was spent last summer, and the fact that none of them started the other night, and they're thinking, are we going to give another 26 million to Brendan to spend this summer? Well, look at what happened to the 3 we bought last summer. They're not in the team.
Well, he's not asking for 26, even 5 would have been nice.
What they spent was might that,
for me, that's wrong. That's wrong. With the greatest respect, who's a businessman to tell a football manager that's delivered 13 trophies to a football club how to go about his business? And we talk about now, it's a squad game. Barry will tell you he's managed Rangers for 4 months earlier this year. It's a squad game. Look at what Celtic achieved last season in Europe and domestically. They were a penalty kick away for a treble. Engels, Ida and Trusty all contributed to that. There might not have been 9 out of 10s every week, but they contributed to that. It's a squad game. And for me, the ball would be burst if you're going to a businessman telling managers who they can and who they can't sign.
And the reality,
when that happens, Barry will tell you, if you're a manager, with the greatest respect, you're not going to tell the hierarchy how to run their business, how to run their marketing department or their catering department, are you? So leave me alone to let me run. No, but seriously, leave me alone to run the football department.
You're right. It comes down to the manager. He makes the signings. There's no doubt about that. He's got to decide. You can't have the hierarchy telling you who to sign and what not to do, or I'm not giving you this money because these 3 players have not started many games this season. Last season they had a good input into the season. Engels played a lot of football. Ida played a lot. So did Trusty. maybe they've not had a great pre-season, maybe they've been injured during pre-season, we don't really know.
And there's a key phrase in all of this: we don't really know, because nobody speaks, nobody explains to us what's going on behind the scenes. Brendan says there's no disconnect. We have to take him at face value today. But
by the way, we're going to have a very similar thing on Monday. So see if Rangers don't win on Sunday, and Russell Martin doesn't lose his job, and I don't want him to lose his job. I'm not saying, but I'm talking about a scenario. We need to hear from the Rangers, because all we're getting is Russell Martin saying, Kevin and Patrick, trust me, they know what we're doing. They're in line with the process. Okay, so let's hear from the Rangers hierarchy if they've got some explaining to do at the start of the week, whether that's Patrick Stewart as chief exec or one of your owners who's flying in for the game on Sunday.
I'll tell you what I'll be doing on Monday. If Rangers don't win, I'll be hiding in a dark room. That's what I'll be doing.
Keep your phone on just in case you get a call.
Stevie,
notifications off.
Stevie, what do the Celtic fans think about a lack of communication? I mean, we hear plenty from Brendan Rodgers, but we don't hear anything from the bean counters, the others that are involved in deciding what happens in the transfer market.
Again, as Mark says, Rob, if these guys obviously are telling a manager like Brendan Rodgers, I mean, they tried to do that the first time and say, obviously, that we know that money's no option, whoever you want, you can get, and look how that turned out. So he's on his last year. Again, he's going to try and do the best on what he can. I mean, it might be quite interesting in the Europa League if Celtic and Rangers meet each other, but that's another thing. But again, the Celtic fans are 40, 50 years now. You know what I mean? You sort of get used to it. And I know what Mark's saying, it's no right. But in the same sense, everybody shouting and bawling, again, they pay their money, guys. At the end of the day, their opinion is their opinion. But it must have an effect on the players. And Barry will know that if you're on the park and you're battling for a ball and you're trying to either get your team back in the game, or you're trying to see the game out, and you've got all these chants outside. It does affect players. I mean, I only coach amateur, but then when there's negativity coming to the side, it does have an effect on the players. So it is, and probably Barry might agree with that. I don't know if he does or not.
Yeah, well, I had it last season when the two big bumps we had in the road against Hibs and Motherwell, but you've got to stand there, and it's no nice. You could see it certainly was affecting the players, but that's where you've got to work at it. You've got to sit them down. You've got to explain, listen, this is a tough place to play, and there's demands and expectations on you, and it's no nice they're standing out in the touchline getting it. But listen, at the end of the day, the fans do pay a lot of money and put a lot of money into the club to come and watch them, and they have expectations, and that is for your team to win.
So, Stevie, fast forwarding, we don't have to fast forward too much to Sunday. Is it the least damaged team of the pair of them who win this one?
Again, Rob, I agree with what Barry said. It's two wounded animals, and it's different if you sit and say Rangers have gone to Tannadice and Celtic are going to Dens Park and go, right, let's put this to bed. But they're actually meeting each other to try and get things back on track for the fans. It's nothing to do with them, because it's only a couple of games in, and the season's played there 10 months, guys. You know what I mean? I've had terrible starts. I mean, in an amateur season, and still come out winning the league or winning a cup at the end of the season, because I made all the mistakes at the beginning, but I learned from them.
Yeah.
So it's not mean. So I totally agree with Barry, and hopefully I can get a wee chance to ask him a wee quick question before I go. But as I say, I think that there will be goals on Sunday. The two of them will be going at it hammer and tongs. You know what I mean? Because they've got a point to prove to the fans.
Right.
The manager's know what they can do.
Stevie, let's have your very quick. We're just heading for a break, so very quick question, and we'll get a quick answer back from Barry.
Okay, right, Barry. Obviously, it's to do with Elliot Anderson. I heard the England squad, and it's stuck in my craw all day. This boy was at Scotland. Has there been any approach for yourself, Barry, to join the setup, or guys like yourself, Billy, Neil, and that? Because we need somebody that's going to attract players to playing for Scotland. We've lost far, far too many now. Good players to get them in. I listen to Steve and then today I support the team 100%, but he's saying that he's picking the same guys to keep the harmony in the hotel. Well, I'd rather the hotel was a complete uproar and we were winning games comfortably on the park. I just wanted Barry's opinion on that. Where do you think the balance is?
In terms of getting approached, are you asking for Scotland?
Yeah.
For Scotland, mate.
No,
just a name. Just a name, mate.
Listen, in terms of me being approached with Scotland, no, I've never been approached. But listen, I do think we do lose out in some, but also we've gained some players. But I think we have got to look afar to try and attract the better players to try and make us better. I mean, I look at our squad and I do think, like, if you look at the midfield, we're quality. I think there's quality all of that middle of the pitch, but I do think we need a bit of strength defensively and up top. Great to see young Bowie.
And in goals. Yep. I don't really look at goalkeepers, if I'm being honest with you. But no, I agree with you. We've got to start looking afar and try and attract a better quality player. But if you look at our squad, I do think it's a squad that is high on quality. I do. I just think it needs a few adjustments, should I say, defensively and in the forward areas where I think we are a bit short. But as I said to you, great to see the young boy Bowie. I think I seen him younger days at Wraith. He went to Fulham. He's come up to Hibs, and I tell you, he's starting to look the part. I know it's early doors in the season, but every time I've seen that boy, he stood out. And when we're being critical of the week in Europe for Scottish clubs, I think Hibs are definitely exempt from that, because that was some performance they turned in last night. Very unlucky not to make it 4 teams in European group stage football for Scotland. Stevie, thanks for your call.
Cheers, guys.
All the best.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. New and improved Whopper. Now with fluffier buns. The Whopper never tasted so good. Let's go!
Okay, so we've teamed up with Vision Scotland to create the ultimate challenge for Scottish football fans, where your tuned in ears, hopefully, and football knowledge, hopefully, could help you hit the jackpot of £2,500. We've got a clip of 5 mystery footballers, all of whom have played in Scotland at some point in their careers. Each voice, when first identified, is worth £100, and you need to get all 5 in order for you to win that £2,500. Craig from East Kilbride correctly identified that the 5th voice in this is Arthur Newman, and he walked away with £100. Let's see if Ross from East Kilbride can do any better tonight. Hi, Ross.
Hi there, how you doing?
Yeah, good. How's yourself?
Yeah, fine.
Have you listened to it a few times now, yeah?
I have, yeah.
Does that make it any easier?
It's tricky. No, it doesn't make it any easier, no.
Right, okay. Well, we go again. We go in hope. And here is that clip.
The Go Radio Football Show.
Well, that was useful. Here we go.
The Go Radio Football Show.
So you've had 2 spins at it. It's a little bit quick fire, isn't it? So what do you reckon, Ross? What's your 1 to 5?
I'll say Barry Ferguson, Billy Dodds, Neil McCann, John Hartson, and obviously Arthur Newman.
Can I tell you you've got 1 out of 5?
Oh, 1 out of 5. What one was it?
The one you knew already. It's Arthur Newman. So we move on, and still that £2,500 up for grabs.
Okay.
It's tough.
Oh, very tough.
Yeah, tough.
Did you go for Barry Ferguson as the first one as well, Barry?
I thought you were just going to go through the whole Rangers backroom team there. Ross, the only one who was missing was Alan McGregor. How did John Hartson manage to sneak in there? Yeah. Ross, stay with us for a sec, but just for everybody else, if you think you know the answer and you could win big with Vision Scotland, register now. This is go.co.uk, and you could be playing tomorrow night. That is seriously tough. Yeah. I agreed with Ross's third guess. I thought the third name was Neil McCann, is what he said. Yeah. And it's not, obviously. So I thought that as well, Ross.
I wasn't even sure which one the third was in the clip, but there we go. It was all very fast and furious, but that's how you can get involved and see if you can win that £2,500. While you're with us, Ross, What would you like to say on the football front, or who would you like to talk to in the studio?
Talk to Barry to see if he's maybe considering a move back to Ibrox and get Russell Martin out the door.
Get in there, Ross. Don't hold back.
I
Put him in the spot.
No. Yeah.
Are you pretty keen to see the back of Russell Martin, Ross? That's not a question. That's not a question to you, Barry.
Yeah, no, I thought you were asking me there.
Yeah, have you had enough?
Enough's enough now. Yeah, it's just a joke. I mean, that result the other night there was shocking. So, and there's no the players don't really know what they're doing, to be honest with you. So, and when you were there, Barry, they had a bit of structure. So it's like nobody wants to be there any longer.
Well, listen, it's tough when you go in and it's no your players. But I've got to be honest with you, I spoke about it, Rob, didn't I? After the couple of bumps we had at home, once you get to work with them and then they start to believe in you a wee bit, they start to understand what way you want to operate. And I was really big on, I had a certain way I wanted to play, but also I keep going back to that word, and I kept saying to them, even with the previous regime, I just thought you had to change it up at times and mix it up a wee bit and be flexible. And that was something me and the staff spent a lot of time on in the office, and then obviously we spent a lot of time in the training ground. And I've got to be honest with you, it was a bit strange for them at first, but they took to it, they worked at it. And I thought when we did change it up, certainly going away to places like Fenerbahce and then obviously going to Celtic Park, which was a tough place for Rangers over the previous 5 years. We hadn't won there, we just felt we had to go different. And when you actually sit down, and there was a bit of fear in them, you could see that, but it's just starting to get them to believe. Listen, it's just believing in what we were going to approach it and being really. And I kept going back to the word. We had to be really aggressive against Celtic, because if you allow the Celtic team under Brendan Rodgers to play, they're going to dominate you. So we had to get up against them and really make it uncomfortable for them. And I thought we'd done that, and we took them by surprise. But listen, in terms of the players, they definitely bought into it. I think at the start they were a bit thinking to themselves, right, is this 4 mad Rangers men that are in here? But once you sit down,
it was 4 mad Rangers men.
Yeah, but listen, we know the game and we worked really hard on it, and once you've got to gain their trust as well. And once you see you operate, and once you see you work, and the amount of work you have to put into it, and that is, I'm talking like coming in early and making sure everything's prepared right, because we had to change a lot, and we did change a lot, and they had to buy into that. And one thing that the group of players did was they certainly bought into it, and I thought we did improve certain players.
I think what Barry says, one of the things I think is so key, and it's something that you've mentioned tonight, Rob and Ross, the Rangers supporter, if we're talking specifically about Russell Martin, because he is the Rangers man just now and he's under pressure. I think you do have to show flexibility as a manager. Formation, personnel, your pre-match team talk in terms of how you phrase it, what you want them to do, because what you've got to do as well, particularly in Europe, you must take into account the opposition's strengths and how you're going to combat that. And if that means you maybe need to sacrifice a wee bit of what you're good at, your natural game and how you want to play it, then so be it. Sometimes you have got to say, right, okay, where are they strong? Okay, how do we combat that? Okay, so we'll just need a very slight alteration, You're
spot on. When we sat down and see if you actually watched, I'm using Fenerbahce as an example. His team wanted to get the ball wide and get the ball into the box, so we had to make sure. I thought, looking at us with 2 central defenders, where we had to maybe overcompensate and get another third defender in there to make sure, because they had Dzeko up front, they had like dangerous guys who were good in the air and physically really strong, so we felt we had to have 3 centre backs. And then when it went to the wide areas, to help the wing back, what we had to do is get, at the time it was Czerny, you have to do the dirty side of the game. You have to go and help your wing back. Same with Diomande. You have to go and help your wing back in the left side and stop their strengths. And then I thought if we stopped that would then frustrate them. And then I thought they were quite slow in the turnover, Fenerbahce, and we had pace. Dio can run all day, Czerny can run all day, and Big Cyril, he'll put a shift in for you. So that's what we try to do, is kind of suffocate them, sit in really tight and try and hit them quickly. And I thought I thought the boys that night exactly done what we asked them. But there's a lot of work, and they've got to believe in it as well. It's not about you just putting a plan in place, me and the staff. It's the players need to buy into that plan. And they hadn't played that formation before, and you could see a couple of them, but then you had to talk to them, you had to make them believe in it. And once they got it on the training field, it's got to come right when you cross that white line. And they've got to believe in it, and thankfully it did at times.
After those 3 goals in 20 minutes at Ibrox, Ross, Russell Martin said after that game, this is not going to happen again. But of course, it didn't happen again. It wasn't 3 in Bruges, it was 5. How fearful are you about Sunday?
Not very. I'm never going to watch it, to be honest with you. It's just I think Celtic's going to be dominate the full game. We've not really got any structure at the back line. I mean, with Suter, he's brilliant. Bartland in goals, but they say you can only do so much in goals, and then you get a kind of second ball. The defenders have got to be on ball as well to get that one. But you've seen that during the European game there. They're just ball watching. It's a joke.
Thanks for your call, Ross. Thanks for joining us on the Go Radio Football Show, and news at 6 on the way.
This is the Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Bring home the ultimate food satisfaction with a Gourmet King's Barbecue Steakhouse Angus. Order now on the Burger King app.
Let's go! Well, we've had a pretty fast and furious first hour on the Football Show. Lots of good calls, lots of good questions, lots of good points, and lots of good contributions as well from Barry and Mark. It's Barry Ferguson, Mark Guidi and me, Rob Maclean, and we've got another hour still to come. We're about to go back on the phones, more callers to come, and we'll hear more from Brendan Rodgers as well, and from Russell Martin. And right now, in a second, we're going to hear from Arne Engels, who was involved in the media conference at Celtic today as well. But breaking news to give you that Swansea are closing in on the signing of Adam Ida after agreeing a fee with Celtic for the Republic of Ireland striker. Now set for a medical with the Championship club, and that, it appears, will be that. And Celtic will be looking for 2 strikers, and the fee, I think, is round about £7.5 million. So that's happening, Mark.
Yeah, he's not played well, Adam Ida, this season. He looks struggled. He didn't look a confident number 9. You need to have a wee bit of a swagger if you're playing for Celtic or Rangers. So I think it's right for the player, and it's good business for Celtic. People say he flopped. I think that's really unfair. When you look at some of the goals he scored, particularly when he was at Celtic on loan. But yeah, I think it's a right move. But what it throws up, Rob, who's your number 9 on Sunday? Are you going to go with Maeda?
Well, it's got to be
the
now,
middle,
isn't it?
who's, let's be honest, has missed sitters this season. I highlighted it on Tuesday night watching the game. There was a moment where he's playing wide in the left, and a ball slipped through, and he had to do just a glance, roll it along the 6-yard box, and Forrest he turned back on himself. So he's completely out of sorts, Maeda, which you can almost say, well, he was so good last season. However, he's not been anywhere near it. He's missed an absolute sitter on Tuesday night in the dying moments of the game. But at the moment, it looks as if he'll be your number 9.
Him or Johnny Kenny.
You know what's going to happen now, don't you? After Mark's just said that, he's missed a few sitters.
Exactly.
That's the first thing that came into my head.
But
in terms of Ida, do you know what I feel from him, because you can see he's well short of confidence, and he looks to me if he's one of the guys where he needs to be scoring goals. I thought his loan period, when he come up on loan, the initial loan, he looked a good striker. I thought he had an okay season last year, but you can see this season he's suffering, and I think it's best probably for both parties. You're getting virtually your money back. I know Celtic spent £9 million. You're saying round about £7.5 million. So I think it's best for both parties that he heads off, and I'm sure now Celtic will have to now go out and get a couple of strikers.
Yeah, they need to. There have been flashes, haven't there, Adam Ida, the 2 goals at Villa Park. He won a Scottish Cup for Celtic. So there have been moments where you thought he could be the answer, but ultimately he hasn't been able to do it consistently enough.
But I mean, if you weigh just up the hard numbers, Rob, buy for 9, sell for 7 to 7.5, you're taking a 2 million hit. But look at his contribution. Has he given Celtic? He also scored the goal that got him into the tie against Bayern Munich. Celtic Park, albeit it was very fortuitous. But
good point.
So over the piece, he's been more than value for money. If you're saying he's effectively cost the club $2 million.
Where do you think Maeda's strongest position is?
I would say as a number 9, but I'm basing that on last season.
Aye.
This season,
I thought
you would struggle to start him, to be honest, given his form this season.
I thought he looked so dangerous. We come up against him when he was through the middle. And there's only one way you can play against Maeda. You need to be so close to him. You can't give him any space whatsoever, because he'll kill you. We all know that's his major strength. But I always thought he was a good player, but when you actually stand in the touchline and you come up close, he's definitely improved.
He's a nightmare to play against.
Yeah, he's 100 mile an hour. But do you know, the thing that stood out for me was, I think his qualities get better in the final third. I know Mark's right, he has missed a few chances this season for Celtic, but what I seen was he's a brilliant teammate. See the work he does off the ball in terms of getting back and helping, even when he was playing through the middle. Sometimes he was actually as deep as Callum McGregor, or deep as Arnie Engels, who played in that position. That's a guy that wants to go and do the dirty side, and that's the kind of players you need. You need guys who certainly get the qualities, but some of the guys that have got the qualities are not interested in doing the horrible side of the game. He looks to me if he actually enjoys that side of it.
Yeah, the misses against Kairat Almaty were almost going back 2 seasons or 3 seasons to his early times at Celtic.
See that chance he's missed when he's going through. He does everything right. He cuts across the defender as well.
Yeah,
he cuts across because it's easy to keep going. But I think he done the right thing, was cut across the defender. Then that stops the defender from making any contact, because if he makes contact, bang, he's off the pitch. It's just, that's the only thing I would probably say. And I don't want to kill myself here because of the game on Sunday. It is that final bit. Yeah. Final in terms of finish. But when he's playing in the wide area, that final cross. But then I thought the last 4 months of the season.
By the way, he got Celtic out of a hole last season because they sold, as we said, Kyogo. Didn't replace him. They got me, he wasn't really kind of shown up overly well. I thought we need to try something different. Brendan Rodgers. Okay, it wasn't like something like, oh my God, all of a sudden I've put Maeda. He did show glimpses that he could go through the middle, but he got Celtic out a hole because he performed that number 9 role. Now, had Maeda not stepped in and performed so well, all of a sudden it'd been more precious. And why did you sell Kyogo? Why did you sell Kyogo? But they got away with that one thanks to Maeda.
I thought that area of his game improved so much last year, and then you're looking this season where he has missed a few chances, but in my opinion, I think he could easily play in the English Premier League.
Yeah, and who knows, will there be a bid for him in the next few days? You know,
hope so before Sunday.
Absolutely. I've said that it's one to keep an eye on. Can't rule it out.
Yeah,
because he's not signed the contract extension that's been put in front of him, and it's been on the table for 5 or 6 months.
How long has he got, Mark?
I don't know. Maybe a couple of years? Maybe 2, Barry. I'm not sure.
I think he's maybe got another 2. Yeah.
How much did they buy him for?
What was it, 2 million or something?
Buttons.
Yeah, 2 million or something like that. I don't know.
2 million quid.
Yeah.
It's a really good bit of business, and that's a market, I tell you.
Yeah,
that's a market out there. I've got some handy players.
It does feel as if it's gone eerily quiet about Maeda as well. There's got to be big interest when you look at what he does, when you look at his work ethic, when you look at his pace.
I would be shocked if there's no interest in him.
Yeah. I also think he's the kind of player what Brendan Rodgers could have said, because I think they faced a similar situation with Kyogo last summer where he wanted to go, and I think Maeda's a kind of professional who can say, okay, I understand that you think you want to go somewhere fresh, you can go and treble his wages, Celtic at a healthy fee, but we've got a Champions League qualifier. Can you help us with that? Can you just, he's missed a sitter with a chance to put them through. So maybe I'm not saying for certain, but the red flag for me would be he's not signed the contract. So if you sign that contract extension, you're putting everything to bed.
Yeah.
But he's not signed it, which suggests to me, I'm not saying he wants to leave, but it certainly suggests that he wants to explore what options he might have in this window.
And he's irreplaceable probably in terms of the player he is.
You don't get many of the players, Rob, about. You don't, like, a real danger going forward, pace to burn. As I said, I'm not going in this season. Last season he's finishing, and his final pass was getting better and better. And I'll keep going back to it, the dirty side of the game, the way that he works for his team. You don't get many of the players about. You don't really. And
never moans. It's totally selfless.
Aye, and you watch what they do before the games, the way they warm up, the way when the game finishes, what they do after the game. They're out jogging, they're out stretching, they're doing all sorts of stuff. It shows you what type of professional he is. And I'll go back to it. I'll be absolutely shocked if there's been no interest in him. He's a player that could do a bit of damage.
So Adam Ida on the way out, by the looks of it, to Swansea. Mikel Ange Balikwisha has been signed on a long-term deal by Celtic. That went through last night, and he's Belgian. And his fellow countryman Arne Engels was asked today, what type of player are Celtic getting?
I think a player with a lot of actions and a lot of drive. He really wants to press forward and play forward. So I think it really suits our playing style, and that's probably why they also get him here. So I'm hoping that he can do the same things that he delivered on the Euros and also with Antwerp, because I'm also seeing the Belgian league, and he's also playing there really well and played really good games and scored a lot of goals and assists. So I hope he can do the same here.
Let's talk to Regan. How are you, Regan?
Thank you for having me on, Rob. Yeah, I'm doing very well, thanks.
Good. What are you thinking about Celtic?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to you guys there, and I've got no problem with Celtic letting me made a go, Rob. But I just think the problem is that they don't. Celtic are not very good at bringing in replacements for these players, because the big thing for me is I'm okay with Adabida going to Swansea and Kyogo leaving, but Celtic have still not brought in a replacement for Kyogo.
Yeah.
So I'm just. I'm interested to see what you guys think, but I just see in terms of Monday. I mean, Celtic will probably need two strikers, a wide player, and a right back. Do you think they'll be able to get all those players in?
Yeah, it's a lot to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you would imagine they're probably. They could be well down the line with lots of them, and again, Mark, that will, if they do sign four players maybe before Monday, which is very possible in terms of the positions they need to strengthen, the Celtic fans are again going to be saying, right, where were they 10 days ago?
Yeah. Well, you can. I think it's 7 o'clock. The window closes on Monday night. I mean, you can. Like I said, you can give a proper judgment, but the fact that they've been knocked out the Champions League I'm not saying it will cloud that judgment, but the kind of judgment's already been made, Rob. Mm-hmm. Regardless what, so there's talk that they might be bringing in Dolberg, the Danish boy who bought. I mean, Barry was talking about him off air. He was a proper, really good striker. Great, but there's a feeling of too little, too late with the Celtic supporters because of what happened on Tuesday night. And then they had the counter argument as well. Brendan and the players should have been able to beat Kairat, and I get that absolutely. No scoring a goal after 210 minutes of football is absolutely criminal, given the mediocre standard of Kairat. Albeit credit to them, but you shouldn't have been gambling on getting a so-called easy draw. You should be preparing sooner and better than what the hierarchy did in terms of getting targets in. So look. Fine, Celtic could win on Sunday, could get 2 or 3 really good players in on Monday. Okay, you would have to give credit, but there would also be that real kind of bitter taste in terms of, okay, yeah, you've done well, but now you're not getting off the hook. They should have had the quality in sooner than what they did.
Frustrated, Regan?
Aye, because Celtic, knowing that Jota was injured, they know they sold Nicholas to Como as well, so they've known for months and months that they need to replace these players. And I think I'm also interested to ask you guys about, see in terms of like Rangers as well. I mean, see in terms of this match for Sunday, do you think, I know I've heard people talking about Miovski and these players, do you think potentially these players could be a player on Sunday, or
I don't, Barry, what do you think? How quickly could someone like Majowski be there?
It's went quiet today.
Because a fee's been agreed, hasn't it? By the sounds of it.
Looks like, listen, in terms of Majowski, I can only go. I know he's not had a good time in Spain, but I can only go to what I seen when he was at Aberdeen, and I seen a player do the hardest thing in football, and that's score goals. And I thought he'd get better.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of Aberdeen games, Rob. I thought he was a real good player. He went for £6 million.
Yeah.
Over to La Liga.
And if Rangers get him for 2.5,
I liked him.
It's a bargain.
That is.
I know it's different. It'll be different circumstances when it comes to Rangers. There's a lot more pressure than he was at Aberdeen and in La Liga. But from what I've seen in Scotland, he could certainly do a job. Scored goals. Was a real team player. Worked hard. Could hold it up. He had all the attributes that you'd want in a number 9. And as I said, I was disappointed that I thought a Rangers or Celtic before he went to La Liga would have come in and tried to nip him. So it was disappointing to see that kind of quality player go away. But now it looks to me if he's got an opportunity to come back to Rangers, and if that's the case, I think Rangers have got a good number 9 in their hands.
Yeah, we know what he does, Mark. That will make this a different Rangers signing, because we know we can be pretty confident he will come in and immediately slot in and score goals. It's some of the other. I mean, Rangers. He'll be Rangers' 11th signing.
Yeah.
What about the other 10?
Well, some of them don't look up to it for me. You've got Mikey Moore, Sama, Anton, but the boys at the back. I mean, where I have a lot of sympathy for Russell Martin in terms of Wednesday night is Max Aarons. Okay, now you could argue, why is he starting the game in the first place ahead of James Tavernier? I get that argument, but then Max Aarons, I mean, wow, as a manager, how do you manage for that? You can't. No. That's a player that's let your manager, your teammates, your supporters down. But interesting to see if he starts him on Sunday. And then my other part of the argument in terms of Majowski, so I would say again, you know, Russell Martin's team selection, some of the tactics. Danilo, why are you starting with him again on Wednesday? I didn't get that. Okay, no. I don't get that at all. I know about Dessers. Dessers the best number 9, maybe carrying a wee injury. Could well be that Dessers and Danilo both go.
Well, see if he's on the bench. If he's on the bench,
you can start him.
He can start. I mean, I look at Cyril and I know what type, because I worked with him for just under 4 months. He's one of the type that you would want. He's a grafter. He's not everybody's cup of tea. I totally get that, but what he'll give you is 100%. Now, I would have just said to him, what have you got in the tank? Whether it's 45, whether it's 60, he starts. I would start him.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of mystery about why he didn't start, why Raskin didn't start, why Tavernier didn't start, because you talk about what Max Aarons did early on in the game of getting that red card, but the impression I got of him in the Rangers game so far, I did the St Mirren game. The guy looks shot to pieces. The guy's confidence looks to be on the floor. So I was surprised. You know, that Tavernier didn't start from a positive Tavernier point of view, and also that Aaron started because of the shape he's in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I would say, and I think almost every Rangers supporter says they want an upgrade in James Tavernier. You know, that's been, and we've defended James Tavernier a lot because he's taking some really unfair criticism, I think. But I can understand why Rangers would say there must be an upgrade in James Tavernier, and Max Aarons for me certainly is not an upgrade. So it'll be interesting. Again, we come back to the point that we debated right at the start. What do you do if the Rangers hierarchy in terms of Russell Martin? So part of Russell Martin's argument could be on Monday morning, if he's having to fight for his job, well, we'll just get Majowski in. That's my number 9. Right? I need to get rid of A, B and C because they're bad apples in the dressing room. You know, they're upsetting the building internally.
Yeah.
So let's get A, B and C out. And he uses that word, don't quite get it. I don't think he really explained himself very well. I think he kind of got himself into a hole and couldn't get himself back out at post-match. But that's about Hammond. So there's clearly players that he's got a problem with. Either they're not fully supportive of the manager, or they're bad apples in the dressing room, which happens. So if you find that, you've got to eliminate that out. So that could be part of his argument why he's saying Patrick Stewart and Kevin know what I'm doing and know what needs to be done. That's why they fully support me. But you need to convince the Rangers fans of that, you know.
Will they bounce back? Who will have the edge at Ibrox on Sunday? 12 o'clock kickoff. Rangers against Celtic for the first time this season.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Try the new and improved Whopper, bursting with flavour and juicier than ever.
Let's go! We got Mark Guidi, we got Barry Ferguson, Rob Maclean in the chair. Today on the Go Radio Football Show, we've got more than half an hour left. Still time to get involved in the conversation. We've had some good calls already. 0808 17 17 700. We've been listening with fascination really to what Brendan Rodgers has had to say about the alleged disconnect between him and some of the management above him, and what's been happening on the transfer front, what continues to happen in the way of delays at Celtic in getting big players in time for the biggest of matches. Also, we've heard from Arne Engels about Barek Wisha, what we expect to see, what type of player he is. And we're hearing from Russell Martin, of course, as well, on the back of that battering in Bruges on Wednesday night, and trying to turn things around and pick up the pieces for Ibrox against Celtic on Sunday. He was asked some pretty pointed questions today at the media conference, and this one centred on what his relationship was like with Nico Raskin. Is there a problem with his relationship with the Belgian midfielder?
I don't describe my relationship with all the players, all the staff, as honest, open. And I don't think you can have anything else apart from that. There's not a breakdown in any relationships here. If it's honest and open, there can't be a breakdown in any relationships.
So no breakdown in the relationship apparently with Nico Raskin. But what we're hearing, Mark, is that he will not be in the squad for Sunday.
Yeah, that story's doing the rounds at the moment, which I find surprising, because I think that Nico Raskin should be in the Rangers starting 11. I think you look at his performance against Celtic when Barry was the manager and Rangers won 3-2. He was outstanding. I think he scored and got an assist that day, Barry, for no mistake. You know, he was terrific. Middle to front, Barry just kind of nudging him forward up the pitch that wee bit more. And I think in certain performances, he's the kind of guy that you want in your team, because he knows what the Celtic Rangers game's all about. He knows what's required in that 90 minutes. So right now, if you're saying to me it's Nico Raskin or Joe Rothwell, now I know we're talking about Barry was nudging him up, but you're putting him back in that number 6, so you're going Raskin all day long. Rothwell just not, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I just don't think he's got to grips with it yet. So again, that brings me back to team selection in terms of Russell Martin. Now he's saying there's no breakdown in relationship, but if you're not including Nico Raskin, then is he one of the players that he's taught them having an adverse effect in terms of the harmony? Is he one of the players that he's talking about that's got one eye out the door already? So if that's accurate and he's not in the squad on Sunday, then for me that can only suggest one thing, that Rangers will sell Nico Raskin before Monday's transfer deadline at 7 o'clock.
How was he to deal with, Nico Raskin, as a player, Barry?
He was challenging. I didn't mind that, but I liked that side of him. He had an opinion, which again I have no issue with. In terms of as a footballer, he had all the attributes, in my opinion. We had a few choice words at times, which you do. I was very demanding of him.
I imagine you'd like that in a player, though. That's got attitude and opinion about him.
I did. I really liked that, but he was also respectful as well. I will say that. Look, at times he would ask the reason why I thought they need to move him up, shift him up a wee bit further forward in midfield. I explained the reason why, and he took it on board. And I've got to be honest with you, when I was in charge, he was excellent, Rob. He added goals to his games. His game, he had a number of assists. He was dictating games of football. So yeah, it's interesting to see what's happening. Mark just mentioned there the stories doing the rounds in terms of he's not going to be in the squad. We won't find that out until probably Sunday, an hour and a half before kick-off. But I think Nico Raskin is an excellent footballer, and he's probably the biggest asset at this moment in time in terms of value.
Yeah. And
also,
so
I don't know what's going on.
Do you struggle to understand why he's not been a regular feature of the team?
Yeah, because he was. I don't like saying this, but he was one of the first names in the team sheet for me, because I knew what I was going to get from him. He understood that he had to improve some sides of his game, but he was all for that, and he would ask you questions. And again, he was a challenging young man, but I liked that. He was interested to see the reasons why I thought he was better a bit further forward. I liked that, because he's then challenging me, and I'm then explaining, this is the reason why I see you playing here. I think I can get so much more out of you. At the start, he was a wee bit unsure about it, which I was fine with, but we worked at it. Me and my staff, we continued to work at it, and I thought you seen that in his performances. I thought he was a standout in many of the games that he was involved in for me.
Is it safe to assume, Mark, he's on the way out?
It looks that way. I mean, a lot can happen. I mean, some people might say maybe the manager will be away before him. You know what I mean? You don't know. I mean, don't say that lightly. That's not me being flippant.
No,
I'm just talking about in terms of the general mood around Rangers and Russell Martin's position. But he is adamant he's got the backing of the hierarchy. But we'll see. You know, it would be strange, Rob, even with given the circumstances and the kind of the revolt by a lot of the Rangers fans to sack a manager after 10 or 11 weeks. I mean, it really would mean, I think on Sunday it'll be what, game 11?
Yeah.
That's not a long time at all to sack a manager. It's not. And you know, if you've appointed him, you've overlooked Barry, you've overlooked one or two other people to give this guy the job, and you're punting him at the door after one transfer window. So the last time Rangers stood by a manager was Steven Gerrard. They gave him 3 seasons, 6 windows to deliver the title. Yep. Every other manager they've punted after a year or so. So there's a message in there as well. You know, I said, I'm not just saying it because he's a colleague and I've got a lot of respect. For me, Rangers should have given the job to Barry Ferguson towards the end of the season to get proper pre-season and planning, to bring in his own players, to allow him that. They should have given it. So I think they blundered there right away, but then they've gone for Russell Martin. You try and give every guy who's coming into Scottish football your support and all that kind of stuff. But I think they made an error a way back then. Are they going to do it again? And what kind of message does that send out to anybody that might be interested in the job? What are they going to do? So some guy might say, I'm not going up the road, because you lose 3 games, the fans hound you out, and the owners just, you know, bend over for the fans. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Or I don't want to embarrass him sitting there, but let's talk about the scenario, because he would. Was he sitting here? If it doesn't go well on Sunday and you get rid of the current manager, you picking the phone up to Barry? So, but you didn't think he was good enough 12 weeks ago. You overlooked him. So it doesn't make the owners look good, Robs. And I think, you know, all things being equal, I don't think it's right to sack a manager after 11 games, because Barry's been there. There's a lot of things to do at Rangers.
Yeah.
It's not just about winning on a Saturday, albeit that is the ultimate, but there's so much work needs done behind the scenes to get the club as a football club, and all the different departments that run a football club, to get it going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's key, and I always use the word togetherness. That's what I felt when I went in there in the short period of time I was in. I just felt there was a lot of divides everywhere. You know what I mean? I wanted to pull everybody together, because it's important whether you're part of the playing staff, you're part of the first team staff, or you're part of the training centre, you're part of Ibrox. I wanted everybody to feel part of it, because I think that's important, because you need everybody going in the same direction, because there is going to be bumps. I had a few bumps. Russell's going through a few bumps just now. But when you try and pull everybody together and everybody's understanding of where you want to go, that's the important thing for me. But it's interesting that what's going to be happening with Nico, because he's a big talk, and a lot of the fans do like him.
Yeah.
And it's understandable why they like him, because he's certainly a talented young man. He's a feisty wee bugger as well. That's what I liked about him. And
that's exactly what you need for Sundays, is it not?
Yeah, he is. And again, and the reason why we clashed a wee bit is because I wouldn't say clashed in
Actually,
a bad way.
That phrase could be applied to you as well, probably, couldn't it?
We didn't clash in a bad way. It was just I was desperate to make him better, and he understood that. And Yeah, there's definitely a player, but it's going to be interesting to see what the scenario is, because obviously the window is closing on Monday. He is.
There'll be plenty of interest.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because probably looking at the Rangers squad, and I know Rangers' motto is to sell what they've done with Eagleman. He's, for me, the most valuable player in terms of the asset. Yeah. He's now a Belgium international. Yeah. He's got rid of the injury issues, bearing in mind he had the first period of his Rangers career. That was the most games he had a run last season. You could see he was getting better and stronger. But this season, he's been in and out. But we're no privy to what's going on inside. We don't know whether it's interest in Nico or whether he just doesn't fit into the way that the manager wants to play. Who knows? Who knows what it is? We don't know. We're all guessing. Yeah. But what I do know is he's a player.
Yeah. And we understand he's not in the squad for Sunday, and that will fuel speculation that he will be sold before the end of the transfer window. We shall see over the next few days. Lots of questions for Russell Martin. Some of them he's struggling to find an answer. More to come from him before we're finished. More from Brendan Rodgers as well. The question he's struggling to answer is there a disconnect between him and the board, and why did Celtic not invest before those Champions League qualifiers, the playoff round against Kairat Almaty? Celtic and Rangers both failing during the week. It was poor for Scottish football in general. Let's go to the phones again, 0808 17 17 700, and speak to Kevin, who's a Celtic fan. Hi, Kevin.
How you doing, boys? All right, Barry? How you doing, mate? How you doing?
How you doing, Kevin?
Good.
What would you like to say, Kev?
Well, I was only obviously talking about my own club, Celtic, but I would just like to echo the comments there about Barry should have got the job. Barry, I know that you're going to sit and listen to this. You kind of need to stay quiet. I know no time to get in an awkward position, but you should have got that job. I think I've got a lot of family members, mates that are Rangers fans. You should have got that job, mate. And I know that you need to watch what you're saying, but I think you know yourself you should have got that job. So the new Rangers owners have made a massive mistake already. And obviously, as a Celtic fan, I'm loving it. So I'm glad that they made that mistake. But from a respect point of view, because I do respect Barry, he should have got that job. But my own club, Celtic, I was just listening to Brendan Rodgers' interview today. Mm-hmm. For me and a lot of the Celtic fans, it's quite clear that there is somebody within Celtic, whether there's, I don't blame Dermot Desmond, I don't think he'll get involved in the actual transfers, but there's somebody in that Celtic boardroom / recruitment team who is not competent in the role, because there is absolutely no way. 40 days it has taken us, 40 days with £100 million in the bank, 40 days knowing we had no Nico, we had no Kyogo, we had all these, we had injuries, and it took 40 days to get that boy out, that Balagwisha in the door. That's just no good enough. It's either you can do the pub talk where the board doesn't want to give Brendan Rodgers any money. Rubbish, because he's wasted this and that. Pub talk, rubbish. It's nothing to do with that. There is somebody in that Celtic boardroom / recruitment team that is utterly incompetent, that they can't get their business done quicker. And Brendan Rodgers, listening to his interview, he is absolutely spot on. Because Neil Lennon had it as well when he was there. You're ending up having to rush about and panic buys. But I just hope that the board have learned a lesson, because it's an almighty or almighty mistake, if you want, mistake that they've made. It's cost us an absolute fortune. Yep. I know we're in the Europa League, and we've got some glamour ties, by the way, delighted with the draw, some big games to look forward to. Yep. But the money is a pittance compared to what you're getting in the Champions League.
Yeah, and you're saying, Kevin, you're saying you hope Celtic have learnt their lesson, but how many warnings over how many years do they need before they start to get it right? Because it's an annual event. This we're bemoaning Celtic's lack of speed in the transfer market.
Exactly, you're exactly. Listen, that is the exact point that the Celtic fans are going mental at. Again, as I said during the week, and I'll echo it. Those Celtic players and Brendan Rodgers 100% have to take a lot of the flack and responsibility for not getting by some part-time team from the Midland area. They should be, it doesn't matter. We needed help, okay, but their players, that team's chock full of international players on 25, 30, 35 grand a week. You should be getting by there, boys. So they need to take that flack. But the board, to a certain extent, as I said before, have left them out to dry because we've basically got no striker. And I respect that Brendan's saying about Adam Meader can't go to get another striker in the door. Adam Meader's worse than a man doing. He's not even, he hasn't even had a shot on target this season. So the board, we're linked with this Casper Dolberg now. Now would be a perfect opportunity for the board to say, you know what, we're going to flex our muscles. And they're like, no, they're going to lose him. Get that boy in the door within the next 24 hours. I know that sounds highly unlikely, but they did it with Scott Sinclair. In the door one day, and the next day he's come on off the bench and scored against Hearts. So flex your muscles, get this boy in the door by at least next week, the latest, and get ready Adam Meader.
Well, half your wish is about to come true, I think, because the Swansea have agreed a fee with Celtic for Ida, so that appears to be happening on the way out. Casper Dolberg, they're talking about 8.5 million, I think, for him, so it's not far away from the money they're bringing in for Ida, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, Dolberg has got a terrific CV, and I would imagine it'd be a really good signing for Celtic. But for me, it's not been good enough. And again, we've spoken about it early, and Kevin's mentioned it there. Celtic should have been able to get past Almaty. I totally get that, absolutely. But I can't disagree with that. They should have over two legs. However, the board, the hierarchy, they can't try and guess if the draw is going to be kind to you or not. They should have been planning mid-July towards the end of July for the toughest possible draw and to get the best possible players in as quickly as possible. And Balakwisha's signed, great, brilliant, but he's been on the radar for at least 8 months.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up, it doesn't make sense, and I don't think in any shape or form you can defend it.
No.
Other than to say it's not been good enough, and you let down the manager, the squad, and the Celtic supporters. Also, not just about the players that you're trying to bring in. Brendan Rodgers made it clear how much he wanted to keep Greg Taylor. Didn't keep Greg Taylor either. Now, what were the reasons for not keeping Greg Taylor? We've never found out, Rob.
No.
Was there ever an offer made to him? Did he knock it back? Did he, whatever? He's ended up with the greatest respect in Greek football. I don't know, again, for that one. So, just keeping players that are under your nose, taking a headache away. Keeping Greg Taylor, who's not only a good player, but a tremendous professional and a leader about the football club.
It'd be interesting to see the reason why. Is it Greg Taylor wanted to be guaranteed to play? Or was he not getting enough money? Is he getting a better contract over in the Greek league? Because he is a player that you don't want to lose, because he knows the club, he's won stuff. So that was a strange one. But again, Celtic supporters are in the dark the reasons why he was allowed to go in a free transfer.
Yeah, what? Yes, Kev, yeah.
You just jump in into Greg Taylor, boys. I think you me Celtic fans know, and I think you guys in the media as well, I think with that one, let's be fair, I think a common sense approach to that one. Greg Taylor wanted first team football. Greg Taylor's a Scotland international. He's a starter for a massive club like Celtic. He's used to winning trophies. He knew that when Kieran Tierney came in the door, he was going to be playing second fiddle, and that wasn't going to be good enough for him. And whether the conversations, obviously we're no privy to, but in my opinion, I think Celtic have offered him a good deal. Probably they've offered him a deal, but he said the conversation has been about game time, and he's wanted guaranteed game time, and he wasn't going to get that at Celtic. I think that's the more realistic thing that's happened there. I don't think it's anything to do with money. I think it's to do with he's approaching 30, or he's just there 30. I want to play regular football. He's not going to be guaranteed.
Do you know what, Kevin, you might be right, and what I just said, I might be right, but again, there's no clarity.
Of course.
All we do know is that Brendan Rodgers made it clear, and so did Callum McGregor, talking about Greg Taylor's attributes on and off the park. And we can all see that the evidence is here, and Brendan Rodgers would have known this when he was bringing Kieran Tierney in, And by the way, credit to Celtic for getting a player of Kieran Tierney and a really lucrative contract. So, credit where credit's due for that. But you knew there's going to be a lot of game time. There's going to be a lot of management of Kieran Tierney's physical condition, particularly in the first season.
Yeah.
So again, look, I'm not saying maybe Celtic are blameless in that one, but we don't know. But I just think, so why would you maybe keep him in terms of the look that they've brought in a guy, on loan again, 27-year-old that's had a few cups, might be great, might not. But again, it's a gamble in another position when you had a really, really good answer under your nose,
someone you could depend on. Yeah, exactly. Before you go, Kevin, scoreline for Sunday. What do you think?
Listen, Rangers are in an absolute mess now. And I was speaking to my mate before I phoned in, and as poor as we are, we've got firepower out wide and in that midfield, and I just think Rangers could be on the end of a hiding, and I think the atmosphere at Ibrox is going to be quite toxic, and I could see Rangers taking a bit of time. It's either Rangers or Celtic are going to scalp them, or the two of them are going to be so bad it's going to be the worst 0-0 draw you've ever seen.
Yeah, it's been that sort of week, hasn't it? Kevin, thanks for your call.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. New and improved Whopper. Now with fluffier buns. The Whopper never tasted so good. Let's go!
Well, we're talking a lot about Sunday, naturally enough. First Old Firm game of the season, Rangers Celtic, and what's it going to mean to Russell Martin? What's he going to get out of it? What are going to be the implications were Rangers to lose that one against Celtic? But I'm just looking slightly beyond that and thinking it might not get that much easier for Russell Martin, even if he gets a decent result on Sunday, because the next two games are against Hearts and Hibs. Hearts have just unloaded money today on a record signing, a Brazilian that they've signed. That's already looking a strong squad. And look at Hibs last night in Europe, the performance they turned in against Legia Warsaw, going pretty close to getting to the group stages of the conference. Both those teams, Mark, look really strong to me, Hearts and Hibs, this season. I think we're going to see that in the Premiership. And those are Rangers' next two opponents, of course, Hibs in the League Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been genuine, Rob. Every game's tough. You can't, and particularly when you're looking at Rangers just now, you can see it. But I think I've always said that, particularly when you go on the road, it's tough. It's not easy to pick up 3 points. It's not, when you're at Ibrox, maybe a different story. You on the front foot more and dominate the ball more. But going away from home, but I know Hearts and Hibs are going to Ibrox. But I hate to sound like a player or a manager here, but it's one game at a time.
Yeah,
it is absolutely.
But if you're looking for any respite for Russell Martin,
no, but he knows there's no easy games. I mean, he knows he's got to go and challenge. He's got to go and win on Sunday. He's got to go and show that he deserves to be the manager of Rangers. He's probably got just about every Rangers supporter to convince that he deserves to change their minds about him. He'll have the ownership there, the hierarchy there, en masse on Sunday as well. They'll be well aware that the Americans are right, okay. Bit of revolt going on by the support. Okay, can we go and show that he's doing well? So that, of course, but he needs to go and a draw is not. It's not great, but it's not the worst result. Keeps you within touching distance. But I'd have to say, if Celtic win and it goes to 9 points, and I know it's only game 4 of the season, Rob, but I couldn't say at all that Rangers would be anywhere near being champions if they lose on Sunday. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful because it's not easy to go and win a title and there's still 9 months to go, but it would be really hard to see past Celtic if they win on Sunday.
Yeah. But I remember when Rangers lost those 3 goals in 20 minutes at Ibrox and it finished 3-1, and I was looking beyond that game and thinking, right, where does he go from here? Well, he goes to Bruges next week. That's going to be really difficult, and obviously it turned out to be a complete nightmare. Then it's the Old Firm match, then it's Hearts and Hibs, and both Hearts and Hibs, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that they look really strong. Those are going to be really tough games, even if he gets beyond Sunday.
In terms of both Hearts and Hibs, I think it's a clever appointment, Derek McInnes, for Hearts. I think he's starting to assemble, as you mentioned, a very strong squad. Then you go across to Hibs. David Gray, I think, deserves a lot of plaudits. Really tough start to the season last season. Struggling, people calling for his head. They stuck by him and then finished the season in a European spot, and now he started the season very strong again. So they'll fancy their chances to finish as high as possible. There's no doubt. And when they're going to come to Ibrox, as you mentioned, I'm like Mark. I tend to just look at the next game, which is Celtic, but you've got to take care of that. But they are tough. They're going to be hard games. Hearts in the league, Hibs in the cup. But that one on Sunday, it's unthinkable. You can't go 9 points. You can't. I know Mark says it's not the worst staying 6, but you can't have that. The group of players can't have that in their mindset.
No,
they can't. It's impossible. The only thing you should have in your mind is making sure, no matter how you get it, just make sure it's at 3, at 1:45.
He was asked today at the media conference what he's improved at Rangers in his time there.
Well, I have to just go with what the staff have said, but it's a conversation between me, the players and the staff. They feel certain things have improved. We still have a lot of things to work on. It's very early on, so we just have to keep striving for it. Well, you'd have to ask people in the building. He's getting those tough questions, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I know that, obviously I know it's an obvious question to ask and it's right to ask it, but it's like, it's one of the ones he's maybe in a no-win. You sort of, you're blowing your own trumpet. But if you improve it, ultimately all that matters is what we do on a Saturday. But there's so much more to it. Look, Robert could flip from, Rangers could easily win. And Sunday, there's no doubt that Rangers could go and win the game. I don't think there's many Rangers supporters out there that think that's going to be the case, and that's not a great starting point. But it, as Barry said, it could be down to 3 points at 1:45, and all of a sudden it's game on.
Yeah.
Now it could be 9, and then you're talking about, can this guy survive? Can Russell Martin hold on to his job? Only the Rangers owners will be able to answer that. But I think I've said this before about Philippe Clement and going back. If Rangers lose on Sunday, but Russell Martin keeps his job, the Rangers owners need to come out and speak. Just what I've been saying earlier about Celtic. They need to come out and say, okay, we get your anger, we're not where we want to be, but we're standing by our manager because A, B and C.
Yeah.
And again, they might not agree with it, but you're giving an explanation. It's like John Bennett this time last year. What's happening with the stadium? Why are we playing at Hampden? Who messed up? Whose fault? Has the manager's budget been cut because of it? And he came out and he answered that he might not agree with everything he said, but he gave the Rangers fans their place and gave an explanation as to what was happening. That will be required again on Monday if Rangers lose and they don't relieve him of his duties.
Communication is what we're after, both from Rangers and from Celtic at the moment. Just a couple of minutes to go on the show, so let's get your predictions on the Premiership games over the weekend. Barry, Livingston Hearts.
We just spoke about them. I really like Derek McInnes. I'm going to go Livingston 1, Hearts 2.
Mark?
1-0 Hearts.
1-0 Hearts. Motherwell against Kilmarnock. Motherwell maybe the surprise package of the season so far in terms of the style of football.
Yeah, listen, some of the stuff they're playing, fair play to the new manager. He's implemented a style and they've got it quickly. The group of Motherwell players. Stuart Kettlewell going back to his old club. That'll be feisty. I'm going to go Motherwell. 1-0 Motherwell.
Mark?
Yeah, I agree. Motherwell 2-1.
Let's leave Ibrox last. So the Dundee derby at Dens, Mark?
2-1 Dundee United.
How's Elvis going to do, Barry?
I think he's going to get a point. I'm going 2 each.
2 each. Aberdeen Falkirk, Barry?
Yeah, I think Aberdeen will be too strong. I'm going to go Aberdeen 2-1.
And they need it badly, don't they? They haven't got a point so far. Mark?
On the back of last night, 1 each at Pittodrie.
1 each. Hibs St Mirren?
Okay, Hibs, yeah, let's go 2-2. Desmond.
Yeah.
That's 2 managers that I've got a lot of time for that I come up against and I was impressed by. So I think that's going to be a tight encounter. I'm going to go 1 each.
Yeah, St Mirren were very good against Rangers.
Yeah, they were very well set up. Good manager.
Yeah.
And they've rewarded them with a new contract as well last week, so he deserves it.
And quite a few Rangers fans on the show last night were suggesting him when they hoped Russell Martin was out of the way. Finally, Ibrox, Rangers Celtic, 12 o'clock Sunday. Mark?
I'm not sitting the fence, but I'll give it really, really interested, Rob, in how both managers, in terms of their starting 11. is Raskin not going to play? Are Celtic going to have a number 9? I would definitely throw in Balikwisha. I'd get him right into the team, freshen it up. So a lot would just depend on starting lineups. But okay, I'll give you a prediction: 2-1 Celtic.
2-1 Celtic, Barry?
I'm off.
Just time for this.
Yeah, Rangers have to win. They have to, Paul. Rob, they have to. Yeah.
Will they?
Yeah, they have to.
They have to.
They have to win.
Okay.
They have to.
Barry, thanks.
They can't go 9 points.
No.
Can't go.
Good to see you. Thanks for that, Barry.
Cheers, Rob.
Thanks,
Rob.
Mark.
Cheers.
And thanks for listening.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. New and improved Whopper. Now with fluffier buns. The Whopper never tasted so good.
Let's go! The Flame Grilled Whopper from Burger King. The most food-filling burger.
Is it, though?
Is that?
Yes. A slightly better version of you.
I don't understand.
Just like the new Whopper that's juicier and tastier than ever before. Same, but hits different. That's my line now.
Oh, sorry.
Whopper never tasted so good. Order now on the Burger King app.
Throughout 2025, Glasgow marks 850 years, a milestone that celebrates generations who've shaped our great city. From signature events to local stories, Glasgow 850 is a year-long programme that honours our heritage, celebrates today and inspires ambitious change for the future. So, whether you live here, have roots here or simply love Glasgow, you're part of this story. And together, we'll showcase our city on the world stage. Want to know more? Visit glasgow850.com.
So this is Glasgow's Old Firm Derby, the city's sporting soul. A Glasgow 850 podcast special. We have the 21st century voice of Sky TV's Derby Day commentaries. The one and only Ian Crocker is with us. Great to see you, Ian.
Great to see you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
The newspaper, radio and TV pundit who's covered countless derbies and reported on the intrigue and the drama of the big two. Mark Guidi, the last manager to taste success in the Old Firm Derby. The former player, captain and interim manager of Rangers, Barry Ferguson. And another international player who had a brilliant career, and he also tasted that success, that moment, scoring for his beloved Celtic against Rangers at Celtic Park. Charlie Mulgrew is with us here. Where do you start? I mean, this kicked off in 1888, so I've covered a few myself. I'm Paul Cooney. I was there in the 80s. Some say the 1880s. The first game was in 1888. It was 5-0, I think, Barry, to Celtic in a friendly. But you know the score overall. They've played 450-odd times. Celtic have won 170, but because of Igaman's goal just a few months ago, Rangers have 171 wins and there was 105 draws. There's nothing like it in the world. Mark, is that true? That people say this is the best? What makes it so special?
I think if you ask anybody that's played in them, managed in them, if you go along as a supporter, there's nothing to beat it. I mean, there's fantastic derbies all around the world, but I'd say certainly in European football, nothing comes close to it. And you only need to ask the players that played a Manchester derby, a Liverpool derby, a London derby, how the Old Firm derby compares, and they will pick a Celtic Rangers game every day of the week.
We often say over the years, see when there's controversy, you hear it, bring in an English referee or someone from abroad. Well, we haven't done that, but what we did at the turn of the century was bring in a young budding commentator who turned into the best in the business. And it's great that you're here, Ian, with us.
Too kind, thank you.
Had you experienced it at all before you got your first commentary, which was right at the end of was it 98, I think?
It was 1998, yeah. No, I hadn't experienced it before. I'd obviously followed it as being a big football fan growing up, but never been to one. So my first one was when I commentated on, was actually a 0-0 draw, 1998. I think Barry would have played in it at Ibrox. And we haven't had too many 0-0s over the years in this fixture because it usually all goes mad.
There's such an atmosphere, isn't there? When you go into the ground, there is nothing like it.
Absolutely nothing like it. You know, I'm sure in South America they might think they can stake a claim. I mean, I've been to a lot of derbies in England. Newcastle, Sunderland, not bad. Burnley, Blackburn, surprisingly, as Barry might, if he played in it, might testify, was pretty tasty. But nothing gets close to Rangers and Celtic. It's just an incredible atmosphere and still gives me such a big buzz when the derby comes along.
Barry, you grew up in Lanarkshire and there was only one team for you. What was it like? Because you're in the record books now, along with John Gregg, as the only man ever to play, to captain and to manage your boyhood heroes. What's that like going into a Celtic game?
It's special. Look, as you mentioned, they're lucky enough to play in it, and then obviously captain the team that I grew up supporting, to lead them out, and then obviously not so long ago to manage. Yeah, it was special not just to myself but to my family and my friends. And as you mentioned there, I grew up a Rangers supporter because my father was Rangers daft, and then obviously my brother went on to play with Rangers. So I wanted to follow it. Yeah, he was a very good player as well, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps, and thankfully I went on and done that.
Did you pinch yourself then back in April, May when you went to play the Champions, and there's always something in it? How did you feel when it went to 2-2? A lot of people expected Celtic were, on the ascendancy, but Egan Man gave you a special moment.
Yeah, I was nervy going in the bus, turning up at Celtic Park, but when I walked off the bus, I get the usual welcome for the Celtic fans, which was nice. And then, listen, that fired us up, and thankfully my team that day, I thought for 60 minutes were exceptional. Celtic obviously come back into it because they've got really good quality, and then we decided to make a few changes, which thankfully worked for us. And as you mentioned there, Hamza thankfully got the winner towards the end, and I'll be honest with you, I've won a right few Old Firm games and played in them, but that beats a lot, managing a team to win against Celtic. And it was 5 years Rangers hadn't won a game at Celtic Park, so yeah, that was certainly a special day for myself.
Yeah, the last one the manager charging down the touchline. It wasn't Cherny, that was not obviously the manager, that was the player. It was Stephen Gerrard in that game.
I did think about charging down the sideline, but I thought it wasn't a good idea, so I kept myself in the box beside the security.
And Charlie, what was it like then scoring the goal? Crocs was the commentator.
Yeah.
Corner kick.
Listen, Paul, growing up a Celtic fan in the city and watching the games through the 90s and watching Celtic getting beat a lot of the time, Andy Gorham making unbelievable saves. Celtic was such a great team under Tommy Burns, playing some lovely football with great players like Cadet, Di Canio, Pierre, John Collins, who was my hero. I loved him. Number 11 playing for Celtic. Watching him was amazing, and just never seemed to kind of win a lot of games and dominate games but not win them. To then be the person that is in that moment ready to header the ball against Rangers is a surreal moment. Just come back to it, you see the ball coming towards you and you're like, this is actually coming towards me here, even though it's something you worked on, you just don't. That moment just can't be described. And then I just thought, what's the easiest way to connect with this? And I think a volley would have been too much skill for me, so I just went for my head and managed to connect with it and put it down. Number one rule, keep the ball down, and it managed to bounce and go in the net. It's not what I meant to do. It's to just keep the ball on target, and then when the ball hits the net, it's a surreal feeling. It gives me shivers in the back of my neck thinking about it now. Thinking about growing up and supporting and dreaming of that moment and commentating yourself, maybe kicking the ball and commentating in these great players, and watch Barry as well growing up in these games, and all of a sudden it's you playing in that game. So I still need to pinch myself now to remember it and to get back to that moment.
Could you sleep the night before the derby?
You got to sleep eventually. You were running it through your mind, and you were trying to do everything absolutely perfect. Train right, eat right, get to your bed at a good time. So you'd done everything right, and I was all right to sleep as soon as you woke up in the morning. But that feeling in your stomach is like nothing else. You know what's coming. I remember actually had a pair of orange boots one night in a hotel, and I sat and I thought I can't wear orange boots at Ibrox, so I coloured them in with a black Sharpie pen. I swear to God. I sat the whole night. It took me about an hour and two Sharpie pens, and I coloured them in. I coloured them in black. And then I ran out for the warm-up and it was raining, so they turned copper. So I just took them off and never wore them. But I remember that. It's just a memory in the hotel there. So you woke up the next morning, that feeling in your stomach, you were nervous, it was anticipation, there was excitement, there was all sorts in there, and then it eventually step out. And my first ever game, I against Rangers was at Ibrox, and I wasn't in the team, and I went and spoke to Neil Lennon about getting in the team and told him I didn't want to just make up the numbers, I wanted to play. The next game came on the Sunday and it was Rangers. Neil Lennon used to walk in and just name the starting 11, and then the subs, just name them right off, similar to Martin O'Neill done, and he started naming it, and I remember sitting there going, I've not played in like a few months, and I'm sure I'm in the first 11 there. And I was actually, the team went up and I was in the first 11. I was like, oh no, what have I said? You know, all of a sudden now you're in the team and now you're having to play, and we ended up winning 2-0. Samaras scored 2. That was a kind of change, the start of my Celtic career, getting in the team, and I never kind of left the team after that. So great memories.
Barry, there's great camaraderie with the players at times, isn't there? It's such a fierce rivalry. But behind the scenes, what's it been like over the years that you remember?
Listen, when you cross that white line, you're going to war. You want to win for your team. Off it, always been huge respect for one another. I respected every Celtic player I come up against, and I think that's the way you have to be. And I thought that was the best way to be, and that's the way I get brought up to be quite honest with you. Look, you're wanting to beat your fiercest rivals every time you enter the park. There's no doubt about that. But look, when that whistle went, you would have done anything to win a game of football. Scratch, bite, kick, whatever it was. I tried everything. But once that whistle went, even if it ended in defeat and you were disappointed, I would always put my hand out and shake their hands, and then obviously the respect would come back.
You sometimes get it from the crowd though, don't you? And sometimes you looked up and it was people you really knew who were Celtic fans.
Certainly when I was at Celtic Park, yeah. As I said, it was interesting, the reception I got at times. But listen, that's part of it. That's what makes the game so unique. They're fired up, desperate for their team to win. I'm on the pitch, desperate for my team to win. And look, I don't think at any stage I've been overboard. Look, there was some things shouted, which, listen, you just goes in one ear and out the other. But you just need to go on with that. But listen, in terms of the game, nothing beats it. I've played in, Crocs mentioned Blackburn, Burnley, Birmingham, Aston Villa, and you know what? They're fierce. They are fierce games, but they're nowhere near. They don't even touch an Old Firm game. It's the best game in the world by a country mile, in my opinion.
Mark, covering them over the years, and some of the headlines are not so good, but anywhere you go, and I was lucky enough to go and cover lots of games, the taxi drivers always talk about Rangers, Celtic Rangers. Who do you support? They would mention different players there. That it's just going right round the world, this match.
It's a belter. You can't beat it. We're sitting listening to Barry and Charlie, Ian, who commentates, who just takes it right into people's living rooms with that expert voice that he has for TV and the way he describes the game and his co-coms beside him. So it is a great fixture, and being a journalist and covering it. My first one was for the Sunday Mail in 1995. Covered many that Charlie played in. The one as well with Barry at Hampden, the 2002 Scottish Cup final, the 3-2 game, dramatic game.
That was the only time you gave me a 9 out of 10, by the way.
Did you look for them, Barry?
Yeah, I always look for Mark Guidi's ones. And listen, he gave me a few shockers at times. I'll take on the chin.
They were always deserved. Yeah. I remember as well being at the game. It was a Sunday night game, 6:05. Hugh Dallas, and sitting with Hugh Dallas. So look, red cards, controversy. So it's been a great game to be a part of in journalism, and will continue to be so. And some of the managers that we covered, great personalities that really get it. Your Martin O'Neills, your Walter Smiths, guys who really get right involved in the fixture. So no, it's been great, and to see some of the players. I mean, I think particularly you go back to Barry's era and the team that Martin O'Neill had, and then Dick Advocaat into Alec McLeish, Walter Smith's team. Some fantastic, but I'm sure Ian will agree. When you look back at the quality of the squads back then for Scottish football, to have that kind of quality was a pleasure to be involved in.
It's been a purple time to commentate in some of these games, and some of the players you've been commentating on.
Yeah, that era in particular, obviously with a bit of money around then, we had some terrific players to watch. It was fantastic. Great games and just some top talent on the show. And yeah, that area in particular, I mean, funnily enough, if I was to pick out my two favourite Old Firm games, I'd go back to that era, which seems a bit sad as I've been doing it for 20 odd years since. But the 6-2 game, sorry, Barry. Yeah. Celtic Park, Martin O'Neill's first Old Firm, fantastic. And the 2002 Cup final. I love Cup finals, so the pure one-off game to me is always better than a league match. And the ending to that game was perfect for Barry and Rangers. Some cracking players back then, some cracking matches, but it's not been too bad since. Hamza Egerman's winner at Celtic Park was wonderful. 3-3 at Ibrox a couple of years back. Every so often you get a game come along, well, quite often I would say, when you get an early goal in an Old Firm, that's it. It's open season. You know you're in for an afternoon of pure madness.
Throughout 2025, Glasgow marks 850 years, a milestone that celebrates generations who've shaped our great city. From signature events to local stories, Glasgow 850 is a year-long programme that honours our heritage, celebrates today and inspires ambitious change for the future. So, whether you live here, have roots here or simply love Glasgow, you're part of this story. And together, we'll showcase our city on the world stage. Want to know more? Visit Glasgow850.com.
Glasgow's Old Firm derby, the city's sporting soul, a Glasgow 850 podcast special. Some of the names over the years, before our time, Bill Struth, the legendary manager at Rangers, and then after that you'd Willie Waddle and Jock Wallace. At Celtic, Willie Maley, long before our time. And then Jock Stein, and everything changed, Charlie, long before your time. But when Jock Stein came in at Celtic, in 65, Celtic won the Scottish Cup and then went on to dominate, culminating in 67 with the European Cup. It's a brilliant thing, the first British club to win it. Did it hang over you a little bit at Celtic? Is it, oh, that'll never happen again? Or you'd be inspired by the Lisbon Lions?
No, I wouldn't say it hung over you, because I think realistically, you know, these days you're not going to win the Champions League, so it's not something that hangs over you. It's more a proud thing to be part of a club that the first British club to win the European Cup, Champions League, whatever you call it, and to still see the Lisbon Lions go about. God rest John Clark, he was the kit man and used to remind us constantly about it. What a great guy he was, and Bertie Auld used to come in, and a lot of them used to come in, and they would talk about it quite a lot, and I would wind them up and say football was different then, it was a different sport, and they didn't like that. But no, we had a laugh, and it's an honour to be a part of a club that's got that title.
How the game's changed, though, can you imagine it? John Clark was the kit man. He was such an unassuming guy. Yeah. But could you imagine a Champions League winner now, Mark, come back to work behind the scenes at the football club?
Well, John Clark was in charge of Shots Juniors for a while, and he signed me for Shots. I played a games from then. John managed to see sense and freed me, and so he was a second Lisbon Lion to free me. Tommy Gemmell freed me at Albion Rovers as well. So it was a recurring theme.
They knew a player, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I never played at St Mirren. It was an Old Firm combination of Davy Hay and Gordon Smith. Wow. So it was great. But when you go back to that, what a great thing about John Clark, and you go right back. He was a kit man. I think way back to like Wim Jansen, Dr. Vengloss's time. You know, to do that, it just shows you what the club meant to him and to be involved. And you've never heard a manager, a coach, or a player, whether it was the first team or youth team, that said a bad word about John Clark. And he wouldn't say a bad word about anybody. He was a terrific man. But you're talking about the Lisbon Lions, Paul. Very, very special. You know, to be the first British club to win the European Cup. You know, it's obviously. It'll never be repeated. With great respect to Celtic now that football has moved on, but to have that in your locker is pretty special.
My first Old Firm game was October 1970. I was very young, and Celtic had been winning most things on the way to 9 in a row. But it was the League Cup final at Hampden. I was up in the Old North Stand, and it was a young Derek Johnson, 16 years old, rose above Jim Craig and Billy McNeil, and nodded in for Rangers. And little did I know I would work with Derek for over 20 years. Barry, it then changed again. Rangers got back in the ascendancy in 72, winning the Cup Winners' Cup was just phenomenal. Winding forward to when you were coming through then, Graham Souness, when he came in, things changed at Rangers, didn't they? And he brought in Walter Smith. and Rangers bounced back big time.
Yeah, I'm not that old. I didn't break in when Graham Souness came up, but listen, that was the start of it. David Holmes brought him in, and obviously started to sign some English internationals, Terry Butcher, Chris Woods, some top-class players, and then Rangers started to get a grip, a foothold, and started being dominant. And then on to the 90s, that was when I started really getting into football, and that was, they were my heroes in 9-in-a-row team. I looked up to guys like Brian Laudrup, Paul Gascoigne, Alan McCoy, Stephen Ferguson, Stuart McCall, one of my heroes, Ian Durant. So, yeah, that was a fantastic period for Rangers. It was great for me because I was a young kid. I think I started in '94 as an apprentice, and it was a brilliant grounding for me to go and watch these guys train and watch how they went about their work, the way that they treated every training session like it was their last. And I took a lot out of that group of players. They were a phenomenal bunch. They were just a group of winners, and as I said, every single training session was so demanding, and that was down to obviously Walter Smith and Archie Knox. So yeah, it was a great era for me growing up, and it was a big push for me to want to become a regular in the Rangers first team, because it was tough to break in to that 9-in-a-row team. Because, as I mentioned, some fantastic midfielders. Paul Gascoigne, one of the best that Britain's ever produced. And
how good was he up close?
Amazing. Yeah. No, forget Paul Gascoigne as a footballer. As a person, he's one of the best guys that I've ever came across. So generous. He always took an interest in the youth team. He would always ask us. We would play games on the Monday night, and he'd always come in on the Tuesday and ask, what was the result? Who scored? How did you do? He took a real interest. And for a guy of that calibre and the respect that so many people had for him, he was just a brilliant guy. And then just to watch the guy play football was just memorising at times. The things he could do with a football, win games by his own, and to have that opportunity to go and train and learn off of guys like that was brilliant. As I said, it was a great grounding for me.
Charlie, for you, the players that you really looked up to, you don't look up to many, you're 6'4", but Henrik Larsson.
I loved Henrik Larsson's obviously one. John Collins, number 11, played left side for Celtic. I was young, left midfielder. Used to get 11 in the back of my strips. Loved John Collins. And then that whole Martin O'Neill team were, before I went full time for 2000 right to, I went full time 2002, so I used to clean their boots and do all the duties for them. So it was unbelievable to be in that changing room and to be in amongst them. They obviously gave you a lot of banter and a lot of abuse, but it was funny. It was good. It was good times. It was.
You've got to be thick-skinned, haven't you?
Yeah, but it stands you in good stead because it's all stuff that makes you stronger. Probably happened to them growing up and just used to
terrorise you, didn't they?
They terrorised you. I remember. Sutton used to absolutely terrorise us.
Chris Sutton did.
But I loved him. He was funny with it.
Yeah.
Had them also. All them were my heroes growing up and. Watching them playing in Glasgow derbies and it was brilliant.
What was it like an Old Firm derby week? Is it different behind the scenes?
You try and keep it the same, but every player knows what's coming. Everybody says just do the same prep. Remember, you know what's coming. You know in the back of your mind the big game that's coming. You know what it means at the top of the league. You know what it means whether it's a cup game or whatever. You know what it means to the fans. So, but you don't actually get right in the moment for me until I'm at the day comes and the morning comes and then the build up and then you start going out the tunnel to see the pitch and then you get to do the warm-up and you just start to feel this atmosphere and you know what it means to your family, you know what it means to your friends. You know if it doesn't go right, your phone's quiet. You know if it does, you hear from people. I'm talking about family members, everybody, the people. It means a lot to people. So I used to come after games and you would know that day like, what people were feeling. You get a feeling and then talking about results in the paper there, Mark.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't look at them. I made the decision not to look because I thought,
seriously,
regardless.
Surely you must have looked.
Well, I used to look and then at the very start and then I stopped. I thought, no, I'm not looking. But Barry, you know why I stopped looking, right? I thought, no, I'm not doing it. It messes with your head. And you knew if you'd played well and you knew if you hadn't. So I didn't really need to look at that. But my uncle used to phone me every single Sunday morning. And it was gospel to him. It was like the Bible. No matter what you would say, I'd say, no, don't listen. These guys are only watching the game. I know what. you get a 7. He would tell you, you get an 8, you get well done, you get an 8. That's it. That's what he used to do to me. So I would no matter what, I'll go, here he goes. He'd phone and tell me. And if it was good, he would start to read it out to you. Unbelievable, man.
The first thing I done every Sunday, if we had a game on a Saturday, would go and buy the Sunday Mail so I could see what you gave me.
It was that bit in the inside, wasn't it? With the bit of a paragraph on you.
See, if honestly, I have to say, I don't know, but when you were doing the game, you were like a Saturday afternoon game, and but more often than not, it'd be a lunchtime kick-off, but try to watch the game, do a match report, you maybe have a 1,100 word match report and do 22 man by man. I mean, it's almost impossible. I mean, to be honest, if you get an 8 and a 9, I just used to put the numbers in a hat and pick one. I'll give that to that. But you're talking about the players, Paul. As a journalist covering the games, I'm not a morning person, but on a Saturday, if it was Celtic Rangers, I was up at the kit, and my wife, not interested in football, she'll say, Celtic playing Rangers today. I'm like, you've got a wee springer stepping you up early, and it was, I don't know what you think, Cops, but players, but lunchtime kick-off, you got up a bit of breakfast right to the stadium. Thought it was.
You've killed that for Barry, baby. He's getting 9s up in the wall.
But it was genuinely a privilege to be a part of it and write for the paper for it.
I find that I hardly get any sleep night before an Old Firm, even though I've done 90 of them, because you're always thinking about it. Nearly always up about, if it's 12 o'clock game, 6 o'clock, 6:30, can't get back to sleep. And you just think, so you actually get to the ground, you're like, but the game soon wakes you up right enough. So, but yeah, still get the buzz for it. But you're right, sleep. But I mean, if players can sleep the day before that one, then well done.
I know Charlie said I couldn't sleep. Couldn't.
What were you worried about? Why couldn't you sleep?
Well, because you've got to get it right, haven't you? I mean, you've got to get it right on the field. But also in the commentary box, if you make a mistake, let's be honest.
Massive.
It's the one game where everyone would pick up on it. And that's the way commentators tend to look at things. You just want to get through without making a mistake. It wasn't so much that. It was just the excitement of the size of the game and the occasion that it is. Just the buzz about it was, and I still get it now. Still,
the thing is,
the same.
Crocs makes it look easy, Charlie. Yeah. You imagine us in a mic, go and do a 90 minute Celtic game. So it makes it. But I have to say, just go back. Barry was exceptional. We know that he was an exceptional footballer, and I think in all the times doing the man-by-mans, I think ever gave 2 or 3 10s in 20 years at the Sunday Mail, and Barry was definitely one. He was an exceptional midfielder.
And Charlie was the other one.
Charlie was brilliant. Charlie. Barry won the.
That means no.
I don't think your uncle could do it. Right, I gave you a few. Barry won the Football Writers Player of the Year. Charlie won the Football Writers Player of the Year. So they always say that journalist football they don't know anything about the game, but as soon as they get that award, they're all over the journalists. It was a pat in the back.
No, they do know what they're talking about.
What's it like with the managers then? I want to ask you about fan culture, because Charlie, we saw you on just very recently with Brendan Rodgers, kind of interviewing him just afterwards, and you get a bit of humour in there as well. So you saw remember there was a bit of controversy about because he didn't wear his tie at Pittodrie.
I never said this to him at the time, but when he came out of Pittodrie, I went, Brendan's looking good today. I thought the shirt was a good look with the shirt unbuttoned and all that, and Brendan said they had a restricted tie, but I didn't realise that people would actually turn around and say he's boycott. He's striking because
he's not wearing the
protesting to the board.
It was nonsense. Yeah. But you had a good line with him.
I mean, issues to the board would have been the tie round the head, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Just come running down the tunnel with that round the head.
It was a bit much when you asked him.
Shirt on, imagine shirt on.
You said that.
He did say he wasn't wearing a belt.
He did. He get into it.
Must have the Gucci belt off.
Barry, what's it like with the managers? What was it like then with Brendan and you as the two managers?
Again, similar as when you were a player. Respect before the game, you would shake each other's hand, and then when that whistle goes, well, you're desperate for your team to win. You're at war, and then after it, again, it's shaking the hand, and you would have a conversation because you would cross paths with doing the media because there's that much media you have to do. That's something that I was really surprised about. Like after a game, you were about 45 to 60 minutes after the game. You go in and debrief your team for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you were straight out to do Sky, and then you would do all the various other people, and then up and do the the dailies and the Sundays.
So no time anymore for a cup of tea or a glass of
No,
wine?
that's one thing I was actually looking forward to, picking managers' brains, but you just didn't have time. That's the thing that kind of surprised me, because there's a lot of good managers, I believe, in Scottish football. It'd be good to pick their brains. Look, you would get a quick chat with them if you were up in early enough, in terms of an hour and a half before the game, you would have a quick couple of minutes with them. But you were that focused on making sure your team was ready and set up. That was your main concern, really. But listen, in terms of the managers, always had respect for every manager I come up against, similar to when I was a player, Paul, and I think that's the best way to be.
Have you been embarrassed at any time, Mark, given that you have to cover the news side of it as well? I mean, you mentioned the game, the Hugh Dallas one when he was struck. There are things that go on, some of the chants that nobody wants to hear anymore. Is that difficult to navigate that as a reporter, a good journalist?
It can be, you'd love everything to be smooth and just talking about the football, because like we said, over the years there's been some exceptional players, some exceptional teams that's been a privilege to cover them. But yeah, there's other side of it, Paul. It's a baggage that's been, for 100 years, whatever it may be. Has it got better? I think it probably has, but I still think there's a long, long way to go. What I have noticed I'd probably say just the past 2 or 3 years, and I don't know if Crocs agrees, Barry's just managing it recently, is I think on the pitch, there's a lot more now just about the football. I think going back, looking at previous teams, there's maybe one or two, if you want to call them hotheads, maybe in either team, and it became about them, and it became sometimes we play at the gallery, you look at the amount of red cards. And I think now it's about the football. I think it's sometimes, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I think some of the recent Old Firm games, it's been a kind of watered down version in terms of, the intensity and like rivalry on the pitch. But that can be a good thing, because they're just focusing on the football. I don't know if the guys ever get caught up in it in terms of, going out for a one-on-one battle and wanting to get the better of somebody and maybe lose a wee bit of focus in terms of just concentrating on the game,
I remember Newland used to get us up for games as it was. It's an Old Firm game, and I was hyped up because I was obviously knew what it was all about, and I was ready to go. But then he added a wee bit to it, and he's like early doors, make sure Lafferty you're up against him in that. First couple of minutes the ball goes down the side, and it's 70-30 in my favour to get it. I've read the ball into the channel, and I've slowed down just so I could get the ball and to get him and set a tone early doors. And I've got there and he's just touched it, and I've ended up getting booked in the first 5 minutes. And I think to yourself, that's the last thing you need, know what I mean? But it's just amazing how the occasion can get to you and catch up with you. I don't know if it was that game or one game I ended up getting sent off as well, just big. I didn't realise at the time, but I kept fouling, I was getting away, and I just eventually, people that were watching it were saying, you were nailed on to get sent off.
You weren't aware of it?
Wasn't aware of it. I just remember just being in the heat of the battle and then I had a 50-50 again, and I went over the top of the ball and get sent off. So it's easy to get carried away.
Crocs?
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the exact stat, but I think there's only been a couple of red cards in the last 20-odd Old Firms, which is extraordinary, really, when you consider what it was like back in the day. But I did the game of shame, as they called it. That was the end of my first season covering the Old Firm at Celtic Park when Rangers won the league. And anything that could have happened that day did happen. It was crazy. Guy falling from the top tier in the stand to the bottom, referee getting hit by a coin. I was talking to Neil McCann about it the other day, actually, who scored twice. And he said when Hugh Dallas gave the penalty just after he'd been hit by the coin, Paul Lambert's pointing to his head saying, you're not right for giving the penalty. McCann said, I was watching him taking the penalty. He said, but I actually thought there was going to be a pitch invasion. And he said, I was watching the fans as well because I thought I might be the first target here. So, it was obviously a side of the game we don't want to see, but there was just so much going on. And I remember they met in the cup final a couple of weeks later, and that was probably one of the tamest games ever because they all had to be on best behaviour.
But I remember Neil Lennon and Ali McCoist together at the touchline, and then Scottish Government waded in, and there was all sorts of inquiries going on, and they changed legislation, probably wrongly, and it made for bad legislation probably. But you'll remember that game, and all over Britain suddenly everyone was talking about it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, but listen, it's two passionate guys that care about their football clubs, and when you're in that moment, Paul, as I said to you, listen, for me, it was handbags, and it was over and done with. And after that, they got on very well with each other. They're just two passionate guys that were desperate to win, and sometimes you get caught up in it. I get caught up in it. A couple of times I get sent off with one of Croc's favourite games, which I remembers.
I see that red card coming all after me.
I still gave you a 9 that day.
But it was just one of the ones that Celtic were better on the day, and listen, I just let the occasion get the better of me. And I remember Jonathan Gold running out and making all this gesture, and eventually the referee gave me a second yellow card, and it was a long journey into the tunnel and up into the dressing room. And then the beauty of football in Old Firm games, there was a game right round the corner, and then they come to Ibrox and we beat them 5, and that's where I get my first Old Firm goal. So it's amazing how football changes so quickly. But it's difficult, certainly when you come from Scotland and you're brought up, like Charlie brought up a Celtic fan. I'm obviously brought up a Rangers fan, and I'll be honest with you, my first 4 or 5 Old Firm games, I was actually a fan on the pitch, and I had to grow up quickly and realise that I had to try and let my football do the talking, no go about charging everywhere and trying to put tackles in where my game was built on like running the game, dictating the game, and that just comes with a wee bit of obviously maturity.
What was it like, Barry, as a Rangers fan when 2012 that Rangers then hit the buffers and then went down the divisions and there was no Old Firm derby for a number of years?
Yeah, it was sore for Scotland, that, I think. It was disappointing because, as I said, this is a game that so many people are desperate to watch and so many people are desperate to be part of. And it was missing for so long, and I thought it affected the Scottish game up here.
Because, Charlie, it was kind of flatter. I mean, Celtic were winning, I'm not taking away from it, but you just said about how special it is playing against Rangers. You must have missed that.
Yeah, it is, aye. My first few years, I think my first year we played, or my second year we played them 7 times. So then, the following season, they'll not be in the league is disappointing. It's a game that you look forward to and you want Rangers to be there. It makes it much better. So, no, I think we all missed it, even though I think a lot of Celtic fans will say at the time that they were happy and they got what they deserve and all that stuff. I think deep down everybody knows that that's a big part of Scottish football, and we all want that to be there and be part of it and be playing in it. And for it not to be there was disappointing.
I think as well, I mean, I can remember, obviously, Covenant and Celtic, Ronnie Dyler comes in for a couple of years. I remember covering league games at Celtic Park. It was 25,000 because Rangers were not involved, so a big bit of the appetite was gone. You look at Celtic as well, whether it was by accident or by design, they downsized in terms of players, in terms of the quality of the players, and I think maybe Celtic's budget was hit as well, maybe because I've not been there. So when you look at that, Neil Lennon decided to go. I think probably just missing that. So I mean, it was obviously it was a massive story. What happened to Rangers?
Craig White, Charles Green, you couldn't look up, could you? When you look back on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you go back to all the trouble that they get in under Sir David Murray to then getting passed on to Craig White, and then it's now, Paul, with the new owners coming in. But, Rangers, ever since then, they always seem to be chasing a quick fix rather than trying to build a football club. The football club needs built. And I can understand why they chase quick fix, because you want to stop 10 in a row from Celtic, so I get all that. But ultimately, Rangers are still trying to recover from what happened 13 years ago, and it will still take a while, but hopefully in the right road.
It's funny how the 9 has been impossible to turn into 10 for both sides, isn't it, Ian? You think...
It's nearly but not quite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Celtic on a bit of a run again, but... I don't know, will it ever be done? I think Rangers have got to come back stronger at some point. Hearts are going to be interesting in the whole mix of things as well with Tony Bloom, the Brighton owner. They're going to be challenging seriously in a couple of years' time. But it's funny how they both got to 9 and that was that.
What about the fan culture? Barry, you were brought up a Rangers fan. Has it changed, do you think, with social media? Or essentially... people are brought up Rangers fans and they just love their club because apart from their family, it's the biggest thing.
Yeah, football.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're clubs. And listen, it's not just about going and supporting a club and buying season books and travelling all over the country and even abroad when they're in Europe. It's the merchandise as well. The fans, they care so much about the clubs and they put so much money in. And listen, it's like myself, I was brought up in a Rangers family, and my dad obviously been a big Rangers fan, and my brother and myself. And it's like that, you follow in the footsteps of your elders.
Do you think the old firm, I mean, it's 38 years, it'll go on forever?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I would be disappointed if it didn't, but I'm sure I'll not see that in the next 113 years or whatever it is. But listen, it's just I'm looking forward to the game at the end of the month. I love whether you're involved in a player, obviously lucky enough to be involved as a manager, but as a supporter, Crocs, I heard mentioned, he gets excited up at 6:30 in the morning. I'm the same. I just look forward to them, whether it's at Ibrox, whether it's at Celtic Park. They're just special games. And the best thing to happen in one of these games is one of the teams scores early, because it opens it up. When sometimes two of them are a bit cagey and you get to half time, nothing each, and then it becomes a bit boring at times. I just like when somebody opens a score in the early doors and then two of them kind of go for each other, and that's when they become really exciting.
And we talked about the respect between the players against each other. The fans as well, by and large, what's it like? I know sometimes you'll be going through, say, Hamilton or whatever, and you get a bit of stick, but you quite enjoy it.
Yeah, listen, as long as it's virtually 99% of the time, it's good banter. Sometimes an odd idiot goes over the score, but I've learned, I've got maturer just to ignore it, Paul. It's difficult at times, but listen, you've just got to let it go over your head. But as I said, listen, Celtic fans in general have been good, and the banter's been pretty good. Listen, they support their club. They know what I'm at. I know what they are, and you just got on with it. But you've got the minority, that wee 1% that go overboard. But listen, you just ignore them.
Charlie, have you found the fans over the years?
Yeah, fine. Same as Barry. Never really had any bother. There's the odd shouting across the street or whatever, but it's always banter and always a laugh.
You don't do that too often, do you?
I remember the 3-0 game when I scored that. So I used to take my son on the pitch. Geez, he's 17 now, but I used to take him on the pitch. He was 3 or 4 and used to kick the ball about. And I remember some Rangers fans, they get held in the stadium for a bit, so there was a few of them left as I've took him onto the pitch, and they were giving me a bit of stick, but that was brilliant because we won 3-0, so I was waving up and giving them it back, and it's a bit of banter. It was it's part and parcel. I mean,
that was me. It was getting you stuff.
Some of my mates are Rangers fans and grew up with Rangers fans, so that's all good banter.
They need each other, don't they? Rangers and Celtic, the fans.
That makes it much better, definitely. These games, both sets of fans buzzing for these games.
Best match ever then, Celtic Rangers game. What's been your favourite, either watching or playing in?
It's got to be the one I scored in.
Yeah.
It's got to be to be that. I mentioned earlier, that young lad that grew up in the streets thinking about Celtic Rangers games, and one day being a part of it and scoring is a memory I'll live with me forever.
And the reaction you got afterwards, did it go on for days, weeks, months, and keep it going for years?
The night out.
Tell us, yeah.
No, I don't. I actually don't remember what we done after it, but at Celtic Rangers, that's the beauty of these clubs, is you just go right away and you need to go again, whether you've won 5-0, 6-0, 3-0, 2-0 or lost, you just need to go again and be prepared for the next game, because you're only as good as your last game. So no, it would have been a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz, a lot of family would have phoned me that day. My phone would have been quite busy, probably my pals would have been in touch with me, and amazing feel my uncle would have phoned me with still only a 7 for Mark.
And is that the thing you miss most in football? The buzz of the Rangers game?
It's a huge game. They're amazing games, but what I don't miss is when you don't win them. That was a horrible low moment. Leaving the stadium that night's really hard to explain. You don't sleep that night. You just, even though you don't maybe read social media, or you just get a feeling by people that have contacted you, or you just know how the games went, whether how you've played individually, how the scores went, how the teams went, what the scenario is at the top of the league or cup games or whatever. So I don't miss that part, but I miss winning the games and being involved in a game that's good and you're doing well in.
You've also got to remember as well, I think, what these guys, what was Barry's era, Charlie's era, the different managing players, what they bring to the city, Paul, and what they give their supporters, like, you know, Champions League nights. You know, in Barry's era, Celtic and Rangers were in the Champions League at the same time as well. You get Charlie, you know, playing against Barcelona, beating Barcelona that night in 2000. The buzz that they give the city, the supporters, the buzz that they give the media, you know, Champions League nights under the floodlights when that theme tune's belting out, and, you know, it's a great thing, the pleasure and joy that they're able to give to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of football people.
It's true. It's probably the best advert for Glasgow. Ian, what did they make of us? So when you're on Sky, I think it's one of the highest rated shows, is that right?
Yeah. Well, it's watched not only across the UK, but all around the world. I mean, it goes to so many countries. I mean, I get messages after the Old Firm because some of the American stations now take our commentary. So you normally get messages saying, oh, we're listening in wherever in some little area in the States, shown all around the world. Everyone in England wants to watch it. Everyone in England wants to come to it. And I always tell them it should be on your bucket list. You've got to experience it. Getting a ticket might be an issue, but it's just such a fantastic occasion. And I'm sure there have been dull ones over the years, but they've never felt dull to me because you're so in the occasion. And I have 2 sheets of information on all the players for every game. You do it for the Old Firm, and then the game starts, it's 100 miles per hour, whirlwind, pure madness. You hardly use a stat or a line because there's so much going on the pitch. So
you've got that on every player.
Yeah. Every player, yeah. About 3 lines on every player, some general match stats. But the game takes over. Sometimes it's not. You know, some people tune in and go, "Oh, the quality in more recent times wasn't great." I said, "It's not. This game's not about quality." Back in the day, when in the end of the 90s and in the 80s there was, but it's not about that. It's about the game itself and what it means, and it's going to be so frantic from the off. And Barry's right, as we mentioned earlier, the early goal always sets it off. You know you're going to have a cracker.
Ian, you've had, going back to Davy Provan, Ali McCoy, Chris Sutton, Neil McCann, no sitting the fence. Who's your favourite co-commentator?
Oh, that's a tough one to answer, but I'd probably say, because I worked with him the longest, David Provan, and we just had such a connection. I hate it when commentators crash each other, although it seems to be the thing to do now, but me and him never did because we just knew. He knew when I was coming in, I knew when he was coming in. But I have to say all of them have been pretty good. Andy as well, I was with for a long stint. Chris Sutton now, who, as Charlie touched on, brilliant sense of humour.
We'll just get that clipped up.
Yes.
Davy Provan's better than Chris Sutton.
That's right. Exactly.
Right, we'll just clip
That's
that
the
up.
headline, isn't it?
I want to send them that.
Miles better, he says.
Change it by the second.
And I agree totally.
And cut the next bit, which was Andy Walker was coming in to take the plane. So cheers, props.
They've all been brilliant. They've all been brilliant to work with. And we always look at each other at the end of the game as if to go, wow, we got through another one and hopefully didn't make a mistake.
Did you give Davy start, Paul, in the media business?
Yeah, Davy Provan had just had to give up the game far too early.
Did he give you the nudge?
Did
you nudge Mark?
Nudge him? Oh, yeah.
Ask me the question.
That's right. Get that one in.
Give you a wee bit of limelight.
Davy Provan, and Charlie's doing it now. You're doing it, Barry. There's so many of the players then who go on to a great career in media, but nothing beats playing. I never kicked a ball seriously, nor did Mark really. He was the St Mirren reserve goalkeeper. But you did play. But to play in an Old Firm game would be just the best thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, I played St Mirren reserves at Celtic Park. We lost 1-0. Tony Cascarino scored the goals. I think I was only one of 3 Scottish goalkeepers that Tony Cascarino scored against. Played at Ibrox. I think Andy Gray might have played for Rangers. So I had to sample it, and that was back in the days, Paul, when the first team played, then you got to Pittodrie or Tynecastle. So it was only sampled it for a couple of years, but fantastic to be a part of it.
Who's going to win this season, Charlie? What do you think then? So we've got one coming up a week on Sunday. What do you think?
Can't wait to see it. Can't see past Celtic. Can't see past them. But it's going to be interesting because Rangers are under a wee bit of pressure with the start they've made, so they're going to need to step up.
Barry, what do you feel?
Yeah, look, it's not been an ideal start. We all know that domestically. But listen, form goes out the window in these games, Paul, and Rangers are at home and they have to take the game to Celtic. I think that's the best way you have to approach these games. You can't allow Celtic to dictate, and you need to put them under real pressure and not let them settle into the game. So, yeah, it's one that I'm really looking forward to. Rangers at home, you want to win the first one, and I'm sure Rangers will be desperate to do that.
Mark, we could go on for hours on this.
Yeah.
You think of all the things, Celtic's double year. You know, in the centenary year.
Double off, fantastic Celtic team. Great Celtic team. McAvenny, McStay, Peter Grant, Andy Walker, Packy Boy. I mean, what a Celtic. And to beat that Rangers team, as Barry mentioned there, that Graham Souness had built, was quite exceptional.
Yep, Celtic going to Seville. And then 5 years later, Barry's Rangers going all the way to the final as well of the UEFA Cup. Some amazing... It shifts, doesn't it? No one team gets it the whole way. It's been Celtic the last, 13 out of 14?
Yep. You know, domestically, Celtic have ruled. And then you're talking about Rangers, 2008, and then under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, 2022, getting to another European final. So like I said, they've given the country, the city, a lot of great European nights, and it's a great credit to them because it looks easy. But I mean, if you had more time, Charlie would tell you, but I mean, what does it take to beat Barcelona with Lionel Messi and the team, Barry's team, getting a 0-0 against Barcelona? Stuff. It's not easy. Just like I say, it's not easy to win a title. I've got so much respect for these guys because it's 10 months of hard work, having to go out and do it week in, week out to get over the line, to be that champion. And me and both these boys have managed to do that several times in their career, and a great credit to them for that.
Ian, you've got your homework ready then for the game at the end of the month?
Already thinking of it, already looking forward to it. I think the thing with Rangers is they're going to have so many players who haven't experienced this derby before, and that can be daunting, a daunting experience for anyone. However long you've been in the game, your first Old Firm, is like nothing else they've ever played in or even anywhere near it. I remember when Fernando Rickson came over, God bless him, and I was staying in the same hotel as him. And I had a beer with him, and he was just before the Old Firm, I think. And I was telling him about it, and he said, I've played in derbies in Holland. And I said, no, it's a different, Fernando, it's different. Anyway, his first derby, or first two derbies, got sent off in one, and Bobby Petto was all over him in the other. And he did come up after one of the games and said, by the way, you were right about that. The Old Firm is the one.
There's nothing like it, is there?
Can't beat it, no. It's... Celtic might enter this one as slight favourites, but Rangers had the better of the league fixtures between the teams last season, and obviously that big win at Celtic Park with Hamza's magnificent goal. I just think you can never predict them. You can't, because you can't predict the unpredictable. I used to get some guy tweeting me when I responded to tweets a few years ago asking for a prediction. I just used to say 1-1. 2-2, 3-3, 0-0, sit on the fence and stay there firmly.
Glasgow's Old Firm derby, the city's sporting soul, a Glasgow 850 podcast special. Until the next time, enjoy it.
Throughout 2025, Glasgow marks 850 years, a milestone that celebrates generations who've shaped our great city. From signature events to local stories, Glasgow 850 is a year-long programme that honours our heritage, celebrates today and inspires ambitious change for the future. So, whether you live here, have roots here or simply love Glasgow, you're part of this story. And together, we'll showcase our city on the world stage. Want to know more? Visit glasgow850.com.